we're back.
We're back.
Still here.
Hey, guys, something special is going on today because we're on Zoom, which means we have a guest. Welcome to the show, Mike Jagasar.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Oh, man, it's really our pleasure, Mike. We're so happy to have you because the other day we were thinking, like, how do we spice the show up with everything going on? And we thought, man, let's try and get more people on. Let's get guests. And one of the first people that came to mind was you, Mike. And let me just tell you a bit of the story. Daniel, you might remember this because Mike, Daniel, and I were all in the same lab in first year at Ryerson, Shanasker Molly's. I think that was JRN 103/105. Fantastic.
Yeah,
right?
She's awesome.
Fantastic. And the first day of lab, it's like the get to know you thing, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I love Steve Dangle, right? Keeps on going. And at the back of the class, there's Mike. And I think we interviewed the other person because you have to team up and the other person say yeah, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you were with, it may have been Dua. I can't remember.
I was a Sab. I was a Sabrina.
Mm-hmm. And, here's Mike. And what's said about Mike? His hero is Steve Dangle. The moment I hear that, I turned around. We met eyes, and I gave him a big thumbs up.
I remember your reaction. I remember your reaction the first day.
Wicked. And then the creme de la creme. From this moment, I knew I was going to like this guy. Mike goes out and says, there's a guy named Kyle Bukowski at Sportsnet, and I'm going to steal his job. And that is Mike. And seriously, we are so happy to have you here, Mike. We got you for the whole show, which is just wicked. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about here. And I guess we'll start off talking about the fact that the biggest losers, a.k.a. the teams that were so bad they couldn't make a 24-team playoff format, a.k.a. Anaheim, Detroit, L.A., Ottawa, New Jersey, San Jose, and Buffalo, who missed the playoffs by 0.5%, will all be allowed to make trades with each other. I don't know why they even bothered with this, but
no one's going to make a trade.
No one's going to trade. I think it's just for protocol's sake, really.
Yeah.
No one's going to make a trade right now, or for a while, I don't think, until the playoffs are over.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. They're testing the market with 7 or 6 other teams, and they're missing 24. Not going to happen.
Man, I don't know. Maybe there's Brandon Perlini to the Ducks for a conditional 7th round.
The guy keeps getting moving around.
Yeah, man. I remember when he was, in NHL, he always had wicked potential, too, man. Brandon Perlini. Pretty sure he's British, too. Soft spot in my heart for that guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Man, Daniel, you're a massive Ducks fan. I think they could make a move, maybe.
I don't know. Minor league swaps, just filling in the rosters every level.
Because Anaheim were a team that were very much, hey guys, we're willing to take on your bag deal. Sorry, you saw that with the deal with Andre Kasha and David Backes. So maybe the Sharks, aka the homeland of dying contracts, could maybe make a deal with the Sharks. I don't know. Sharks.
Those are completely different deals.
I was just thinking,
there's 8-year contracts, 7-year contracts at $11 million.
I'll quickly get a cap friendly for the
Sharks.
No
team in the NHL wants to take any of those contracts on.
No matter what the sweetener is, you don't want to do it. The Sharks shouldn't it's pathetic that we're even talking about the Sharks as a non-team. The Sharks should have what happened to them this year, man? It's just disappointing. I mean, I think honestly the last few years they've been riding on kind of like what the Sharks did or the Senators did in 2017 when it was when their playoff run, it was just it shouldn't have happened, but for some reason they were on fire, but they were just playing way out of their league. And I think that happened last year, especially in how they beat Vegas. I was so pissed off. I love Vegas, but now you see them this year, they're a joke. Kevin LeBanc takes a 1-year deal, and that was the worst risk he could have taken. Now look what happened this year.
Yeah, that's tough. Oh, you know what? But if we're talking about losers, we have to give a special mention to the biggest losers of them all. Detroit, from Hell in the St. James.
Oh, God.
Detroit have confirmed that Jeff Blashill will return as head coach next year. And you know what? I don't know if Jeff Blashill is a good coach or not, because the moment he was given the reins, once, of course, Mike Babcock left to go to Toronto, Detroit have just been so bad, and I don't think there's any fault of Jeff Blashill's, but I mean, guys, I don't know, guys. Is he good? Is he not?
I watched before Babcock came here. I saw he led Grand Rapids to a Calder, and then that's really about it. Like this year, like the last few years, I've obviously you see development in some key players like Larkin and Bertuzzi, but overall the team is historically one of the worst teams to ever have been skated in the NHL. It's just so bad.
Yeah, just give them the first. Just give them the first overall pick.
No.
Just give it to them.
No, just in case Montreal falls short of Pittsburgh. I don't want to chat at Lafreniere. Don't
no, you know what? All hell will break loose if the Oilers get that first pick. I will honestly jump off a bridge.
I'm going to quickly bring up Detroit's record again. And by the way, a moment of silence for Jimmy Howard. 2 wins.
Oh,
I know.
Taken 2 years ago, I think the asking price for Jimmy Howard was a first-round pick. And now look at him.
Man, I mean, hey, it could. They're 31st goals against, goals for. Penalty kill 31st, 29th for the penalty for the power play guy.
Who's
bit of
worse?
Improvement there.
Who's worse?
For power play, I'm going to go on a limb and say Montreal probably. When it comes to power play percentage, Ottawa and Anaheim.
Okay.
Anaheim, really? Yeah. All right.
Wow.
You think with Shabbat too on Ottawa, maybe they could pick it up a bit there. But hey,
honestly,
yeah. Him and Mark Boriecki, right?
Man, Mark.
Yeah.
Future captain, right there.
Okay. Never mind, Kachuk.
Yeah.
Who's that bum?
Man, Mark Borowiecki has had, at least, like, you got to think of, since that video came up, his career has been on the up and up. Stopping crime and, in the city and that. Like, he's a borough cop. Remember that, lads?
Yeah.
Man, I felt so bad watching that video because he just looked so visibly awkward and uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was just like, why am I doing this?
He didn't even get to talk to. Eugene just stepped in and was like, Borowiecki was talking about, we got a good room. And then I think Eugene just stepped in. He's like, it's going to be great for the fans, for the sponsors you love. What are you doing, Eugene?
Yeah, when you're not going to pay money for those poor fans.
You know what? We're already talking about the Sens, so we'll go a bit off the rail here of the Power Hour. Originally, I was going to go off of this from the Max Kellerman stuff. But, I mean, yeah, Detroit may be bad in the standings, but, geez, there's not been a team who's worse off with regards to PR and reputation than the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, my God. Dumpster fire.
They've cut ties with the Ottawa Senators Foundation, which, like, you just got to –
Wow. How do you do that?
The Ottawa Senators have cut ties with the Ottawa Senators Foundation.
How do you do that?
An organization, I was reading an article from the Ottawa Sun, that has donated over $100 million into charity. And it doesn't matter what way you really put this, guys.
It's a bad look.
Yeah.
What's the worst part is, Mike, we had a little premature award show a few weeks ago, and I gave Pierre Dorian the Jim Gregory Award for GM of the Year, right? Because I just love the job that he's been doing. Your face is not. By the way, if you want to see our reactions in the face of stuff, check out the show's YouTube channel. But you didn't, Mike. What was it, that face, buddy?
Okay, you know what? Yeah, sure. He's done. He's had a better year in comparison to the last few. But what?
The Pajot deal. I mean, Pajot.
Okay, yeah, they fleeced New York. That was insane.
Yeah.
Well, some stuff with New York and just how, man, that break really happened at a good time because they were trash. But, like, I'm sorry, go back to the Sens, though. It's just, and the reason I bring up the Pierre Dorian stuff is because every sort of good thing the Sens have going for them this year was looking like a very, very good year PR-wise, because, of course, they're so bottom of the standings. But every time something like this happens, two things. That any sort of goodwill that, Pierre Dorian has helped build up for the Sens, Eugene Melnyk has just knocked it down. And a decision of this caliber comes from Eugene Melnyk.
Mm-hmm. Right. They were so close. Close.
Eugene, I can't believe how it's just insane how honestly he micromanages and doesn't let the GM do what his job is. He micromanages a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that he made the Erik Karlsson trade. Like, it turned out to kind of be okay because they're probably going to get second and third overall this year with the Sharks pick. But when we first saw that deal, it was 2 first-round picks and then
it was like Dylan
players.
Yeah, it was like Dylan DeMello,
Chris
Tierney, Rudolph Balcers,
and Josh Norris, which was the best guy in that deal. And then the only reason they said Josh Norris was put in the deal was because he was Brady Tkachuk's friend. And I'm like, that's not how you make a deal. I'm convinced that was Eugene Melnyk.
Josh Norris, though, not just a throw-in. I mean, I think he just won AHL Rookie of the Year. I think he's got some good potential. So, but like when you throw in guys like Dylan DeMello, who's gone, and you throw in guys like who Rudolph Balcers, is that who you said?
Yeah.
Isn't he? I swear to God, he's with the Marlies right now. I may be losing it, but like, anyways, like, what? Like, why?
The worst part is you got to remember that, of course, the last 2 seasons, our opinions of Erik Karlsson have kind of.
Oh, he's been. Oh my God, he's had a tough year since he signed that deal.
You know what? Yeah, but what does make that deal worse is at the time, Erik Karlsson was far and away the best defenseman in the league.
He led Ottawa like their playoff run on 1 foot.
Yes.
Like, come on.
But hey, they're going to spend to the cap in 2025, right? That's what Eugene said.
Remember? Yeah, he did.
Is that what Bobby Ryan's done finally? Or
probably. And then he said that the Leafs forgot about defense. Just to throw it in there for fun.
Like, shut up.
Yeah. Oh, Eugene.
Oh my God, proud alumni of my school, of my high school as well. We have a field.
Oh, that's surprising. Oh, really?
Yeah, our beautiful field at St. Mike's. It's the Eugene Melnyk sports field.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
His name's all over Toronto. Eh? He's got like the Melnyk Pavilion at a hospital too somewhere.
You know what? Claim to fame. I remember I was honestly literally just a couple hours ago. I was watching all playoff overtime goals from 2015 to 2019 that this guy's been posting in just a single video. That's how bored I am. And I see him wearing the same Mike's grad pendant necklace that we all got after graduation. I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that guy went to my school and this is his reputation now.
Man, you know what? There could be something worse for the Sens, though, guys. And they could have a logo like the Henderson Knights, even though it's
Silver Knights.
It's like a
That's so ugly, man.
Pony. Like the Golden Knights logo is sick. I love it.
I can't wait till they roll out their alternates next year.
Oh, it's gonna be disgusting. But the Henderson Silver Knights.
Yeah.
And it's I'm not calling it a horse. It's a steampunk pony. It looks terrible. Alex, just because apparently I can't screen share as a attendee, is there any way you could just quickly you like doing as host? Could you just get up a picture very quickly of the logo? Because I just want to get a better thing for the YouTuber watchers out there. I must have listeners, but man. I mean, it's bad.
That's really ugly.
It's like a bootleg, like Game of Thrones, like crest.
Yeah, a robot unicorn.
Yeah.
It does because like in the middle of its head, it does kind of look like the point. I guess it's supposed to be a shield or something. It does like make it look like a unicorn. There it is. Thank you, Alex.
That's so ugly.
So bad.
That's so ugly.
I thought that was a good idea.
Man, yeah, it's like House Henderson Knights of Winterfell. It's disgusting. Just a quick thing I wanted to bring up there, and just how ugly it was. I don't think it's a very hot take to say that it's an ugly logo, but Alex, why don't you tell us a bit about Max Kellerman?
So a couple days ago, Max Kellerman on First Take said that hockey isn't a top 4 major sport in the U.S. or team sport. And everyone was outraged, absolutely outraged. I agree, but I don't agree because hockey's I think it's a really particular sport. Like I guess in Canada, you can go to any city in Canada and they talk about hockey, but I don't think if you go to any city in the U.S., they necessarily talk about hockey. I think they talk about MLB, NFL, NBA, and I think college football and college basketball would be a little more popular in certain states. But, you look at like Michigan or even certain parts of New York,
Minnesota.
I'm definitely missing a few cities. I think it's a lot more in the US. It's very specific markets that really enjoy hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Canada, I think it's just big as a whole. So I don't disagree, but I don't fully agree with this take.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
I wonder is sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I just was gonna say like I tweeted that out too. I was just like, dude, Max Kellerman's clearly never been to Michigan or Minnesota. Minnesota high school hockey is like worshipped there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Their
Massachusetts as well.
Yes, kid, completely forgot Massachusetts. They're huge in hockey. So I was just like, dude, come on.
I mean, I'm not a massive I'm very much just hockey. It's one of my issues. But like Max Kellerman isn't he known for a bit of the hot takes?
Oh yeah, he is. He is.
Right.
He's got some pretty feisty takes, some pretty risky ones.
And I think Stephen A. a few years ago had the same thing of no one cares about hockey. No one.
He probably
honestly, man,
I don't know.
I hate to say it, but I'm not a Stephen A. fan.
No,
I'm really not a Stephen A. fan.
Why not?
Like, don't get me wrong, he's entertaining, and I love how crazy he is. He's like, I am not having a good day. That's like one of the best memes of all time.
Yeah.
But like, oh my god, I was getting so annoyed when he just was getting so heated about the Canadian team, the Raptors pushing it for the finals. Like, they should not win. Like, dude, get out of here. Like, come on, you're a basketball fan and you can't allow the game to grow like that. Come on.
I think he grows on that hate. Like, he gets better and better the more people hate him.
Exactly, because he's just a beam. I am not having a good day.
The hatred makes you stronger, Lord Stephen A.
Yeah.
Like the Emperor, Darth Vader. It's hilarious.
That was a great way to put it.
Emotions make you stronger, Lord Vader. Man, by the way, Mike, we are massive Star Wars fans here. So
I'm a huge Star Wars fan too. Born and raised in Star Wars.
Awesome.
I'm with you guys.
All right, so I have to ask you this then: have you watched Star Wars Clone Wars?
Oh my god, the last season was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen.
No, all right, Alex is just starting season 5. We're trying to get Daniel, and he's only like a few for episode 1. But Mike, this is good. Afterwards, I want to ask you about those last 4 episodes, especially like that last scene. Oh my god, I cried. But sorry to go off track. My dear, this has been. Oh my god, thank God. CJ Mandalore, let's go. Dave Filoni, what a great guy. Just guys, there's another step forward when it comes to sports. A lot of us were so excited. Sorry, but there's a lawnmower going on outside. It's better than the motorcycle going around the show from my window. But so the NHL were kind of the first of the big sports leagues to really come out and seem to have had a return to play. Then the NBA a few days ago said, all right, we're going to one-up you here. We got like the draft and everything started out. But the NHL have now taken a step forward to phase 2 of return to play, effective Monday, June 8th. I'm going to quickly read a little statement here from NHL.com, the worst site in sports history. Quote, honestly, beginning June 8th, save percentage, but we're only with the 9, no second digit. Beginning June 8th, subject to each team's satisfaction of all of the requirements set out in the Phase 2 protocol, clubs would be permitted to reopen their training facilities in their home city to allow players to participate in individual training activities off ice and on ice. Alex, also, I believe you were the first one to show me some stuff from Elliot Friedman when it comes to training camp dates or dates that the league.
Yeah, July 10th.
July 10th.
No earlier than July 10th for Phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're quite a while from that.
It's good to see there's another step forward, even though, like Montreal, for an example, the Gazette had a really good article about how Montreal don't even have ice ready in Brossard in their training complex, even though they're saying, oh, we're doing maintenance, but they laid off a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. So, guys, how does it feel to have another kind of step forward here and return to play? Another step closer to us getting to see our beloved game back on our TV screens.
Yeah, I mean, we're one step closer, but we're also very far away. Like, we know that this can just get canceled at any point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that like there's like a limit right now for what is it?
Six players.
Yes, to engage. Yeah, that's very little that they can kind of do there. But it's kind of something that I'm happy to see that there's some progress being made.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, do you think they're happy to get back to MasterCard?
Absolutely.
I don't care. No, I've been training there since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna call it Ford Performance Center. It's MasterCard Center.
I went there. I didn't even know they changed it. I went there last year for I went there for a story last year for their Easter Steals Easter Steals charity skate. Sorry, and
you got to meet them when you got to see the players. That was a sick post.
Yeah, but they didn't let me talk to them because they're.
At least you got to take pictures with them.
I'm taking pictures.
I would have fanboyed too.
I went up to Ron Haynes. He's like at least a foot taller than me. And I'm like, hey, can I take a picture? He's like, yeah, sure. It was the most awkward interaction. But
he came into my store. So I work at a hockey store, and he came in to get his kids some skates, and didn't even know we didn't like. I was just like, oh my god, that's Ron Hainsey. So then, so I help him. I'm like trying to help his daughter find skates, and then I'm talking about the skates, and I'm like, but you should. Like I didn't say, oh my god, you're Ron Hayes. But you should probably know. You probably know what this is already. And he's like, he just looks at me and smiles. He's like, honestly, man, no, I don't. They'll handle it for us.
Real question: was he driving his Hummer? Did you see?
Oh no, I didn't see that. But he came in with like a flannel, his hat forwards and stuff like that. He looked like
sounds like Ron Hainsey.
That's a Ron Hainsey. I was like,
the millennial.
Man, I noticed on your Twitter, I think it's your Twitter banner or something, that you met Matt Duchene.
He's a sick guy.
He is, because his reputation has, rightly or wrongly, taken a bit of a hit the past few years. What was he like?
Brigade. So I'll tell you guys the story. So I work at Canlan, York U. So like the big, are you guys familiar with like Canlan and all that? Yes. Okay, so Canlan York U. Okay. They're like the corporate center of Canlan, like Canlan Corporation, and I was a summer hockey instructor there. So I'll tell you a really good story. I've actually gotten to see a lot of NHLers because they have CCM every year has their preseason media and photo shoots for like all these guys and advertising like their new twigs and stuff like that. They have their photo shoot at Canlan in August. So. In July and August. So I've gotten to see Seth Jones. So my first year there, I got to see Seth Jones, Prince Charming Brock Besser. Here's a good story for you guys. He was walking down this guy. No, another player that I'll mention in a second. This player was walking down the whole like the hall to the rink. It's a big place, right? And I'm just with my kids here before we head out to do dry land. And I see him walking, and we're just waiting for the guys to get out of the dressing room. And I just see him, and I'm like to my buddy next to me, Danny. I'm like, "That's Matthew Barzal."
Wow.
So I just with no reaction, I pulled out my phone, Snapchat, and I just screamed out, "Hey, Matt Barzal, what are Saturdays for?" He turns around, he's like, "The boys." And a good story that Alex, I think you're gonna like. Yeah. Then the CCM photo shoot, I told you. So what they did for this particular, like they're usually pretty lenient on letting people like especially the kids because they want to go in and see, and just hide your cameras and shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but okay. So this one player just made a big deal in the hockey world. So So we got off the rink, and I had to spare a couple minutes because my partner already brought them up to the to the restaurant for lunch, and I had to go downstairs and grab something. And then I realized something was going on the other rink that they were trying to hide from everybody. So I sneak into the rink, like to the rink 3, so that the team can't see me. First time with CCM, they were doing the first time, and they were taking pictures. The first time the new star of the Leafs, John Tavares, was wearing his Maple Leafs gear. The first time. So I went in there and I just see, I'm like, 91 Tavares. He's wearing his Leafs jersey, and I'm like, I'm losing my mind, right? I'm like, wow. Oh my God, this is the first time he's wearing Leafs gear. This is insane.
Wow.
Man, that's insane, right?
But I'm sorry, I got out of topic. Yeah, so Matt Duchene, he was, I just want to share that because, like, it was insane. But Matt Duchene, I had to stay late at work for I forgot. I think I had to do extended care for some of the kids. I was doing the younger camp, and then my buddy was waiting for me because we were just gonna leave together. And then we see Matt Duchene is indeed here for the CCM photo shoot, and I'm just like, okay. So we ended up staying late, and we're like, okay, maybe he's gone, maybe he's gone. And then we see the CCM team is still there. I'm like, oh my god, Matt Duchene's still here. So my buddy and I all fangirling and stuff. We're like, we go up to the CCM lady there, and we're like, hey, is Matt Duchene there? And she's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, we're just fanboying. We want to say hi, take a picture or something. He's like, well, I can't let you guys in the room, but I can tell you that he's about to wrap up, and then you guys can bump into him in the hallway. And so he was doing a photo shoot where he was playing his guitar in the dressing room because he's a country guy, and it was his first time wearing all his Nashville gear for the CCM photo shoot. A lot of these guys, when they're free agents to sign somewhere, the CCM photo shoot is the first time they're wearing their team's colors. And so he comes out, all his guys there, all the CCM guys are carrying his hockey gear, his guitar and stuff like that. So you can walk back to his big truck out front. And we just stopped and we're like, hey man, like we're huge fans of yours. It'd be nice to meet. Like, and like, he's the one that prompted the picture. He's like, oh man, like thank you guys so much. And then he's like, hey, do you guys want a picture or something? And I'm like, yeah, for sure.
Man, that's wicked.
Yeah, because it's good. Like, I think a lot of players get their reputations, tarnished because there's all the things that go on. I think in Toronto, I think the biggest one, besides William Nylander, has to be Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
And, going through the contract dispute, Darren Dreger saying he's asking for $13 million. Then Darren Ferris coming out. And I think it started with his dad or his agent coming out after Matthew signed his deal. and it's good to hear that players aren't what people make them out to seem. So.
Yeah, I want to track Mitch Marner. Apparently, he moved up the street from me, so I'm going to try and track him. Nikita Zaitsev used to be my neighbor.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It was. I would walk by his big house, and I'd just be like, "Oh, hey, thanks for the turnover last
night." Too many turnovers.
Be walking my dog and be like, "Yeah, do your business here. Go." No offense to Zaitsev.
Oh man. Oh, God damn it, Mike. You have made the show very enjoyable. Seriously, man. Oh, man.
I was happy to be here.
Hey, no, trust me. We are so happy for you to be here, Mike. Seriously. Like, I'll tell you guys and the listeners, like, through the DMs on the Twitter and that, I could tell how excited Mike was to go on the show. And honestly, it just made me so much more excited for the show. Like, we're always happy to do it, right? But when you've got like another voice on and someone who just loves the game clearly as much as like you can see the smile on your face about Tavares and that, that's the stuff we love. We're all hardcore fans of the sport and that, so it's really awesome, man. But we just obviously talked about stuff like return to play. Sportsnet will have a new voice, or Hockey Night in Canada specifically will have a returning voice. Chris Cuthbert's coming back, boys. And let me ask you this, Mike: are you one of those Leafs fans who are thinking that Jim Houston's now out of a job?
I really hope not, man. I love Jim Houston. So, but then Cuthbert's a legend, right? But yeah. I hope there's a way that Houston isn't getting cut here, because I love hearing that guy. He's great.
He's not really like, you talked about one of those TV voices Houston has.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've never, now that I've got some more Leafs fans, of course Alex and Daniel are Leafs fans as well, even though Daniel's really a Ducks fan. But so like, I want to get another thing on this. Why, Mike, do Leafs fans dislike Jim Houston so much? Because first of all, you can't talk about him being a Canucks fan. Like, stop it.
I think that's their reasoning, though.
But he's a Western boy for all his like in the 80s, yeah, he was like all for like Western hockey, right?
But you got to think, right, when I hear like people say, I don't like Jim Houston because he's going against the Leafs, we should bring back Joe Bowen. Well, guys, those are two sides of the same. Sorry, that is the same side of the same coin there.
Well, if you ask a Bruins fan, they'll say, "Hey, throw Jack Edwards on the national broadcast."
Oh, speaking of Jack Edwards, he's a nice guy. Another guy I got to meet. I'm sorry. I met him. I'm sorry. I had to bring up the story because I'm not even gonna lie. He's a cool guy. I got to meet him last year. I went to the Cup final, Game 6 in St. Louis, and coincidentally, a year ago in 2 days. I'm gonna be very sad to think about that. But I was in the hotel at St. Louis, and it's coincidentally the same hotel that all the media was staying at. Like they had like a sign out front for like the NHL media, like, "Hey, bus comes here for all this like bus time here, and then take you to Scott Trade Center or Enterprise Center." Sorry, but yeah. So all of a sudden, I just see this guy just talking to some people, and I'm like, "That's Jack Edwards." So I went up to him. I took a picture with him. He's a really cool guy. It's because obviously, like the NHL Network, they take over the finals and I think the conference finals too. So he wasn't calling those like he was for because like NBC obviously gets for the first 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. So he was just there as a fan, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. He was a really nice guy. He's like, "Oh yeah," I told him Leafs fan. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's fun calling their losses every year," and I'm like.
Great.
I'll take it.
What you got to take on the chin with little Jack, eh? Hey, great at his job because you hate him. That's exactly what you wanted to. Maybe, though, not talk about how someone deserves to get hurt. Was that Roman Polak he did that too?
That was terrible. When he said the karma thing?
I think he was on 31 Thoughts. It was this year or last year, the podcast, of course. And I think he said in that, like, there have been some times where the Bruins have come to him and said, "Hey, can you just tone it down a bit? Can we not be like, suck it? What was the joke he made? Like, where's your college degree now or something?"
No, the best is, or he like you could see, like there's literally videos on YouTube just dedicated to Jack Edwards' bias to the Bruins because there's a video like where Chara is fighting. I don't know. It's a small guy. I forgot what player, maybe Henrique or something. And he's just going at him like Chara's like huge, right? And he's like, "Oh, and he's curling up in a ball, mommy, cry for mommy." And then a couple of days later, Bergeron gets jumped, and he's like, "Look at that!" Just John Scott maybe jumped him. He's like, "Look at that! Can't even fight a guy your own size." And I'm like, wait. What?
What's going on here?
That doesn't matter.
All right. Okay, I guess we'll finish off the power hour, which really has felt like an hour. Just a quick thought, everyone. For all the layoffs at the Athletic, I believe it was around 40 people plus. Among those, like one I want to mention is Mark Dumont. Probably one of my favorite Habs guys. There's a lot of video stuff with his writings too, especially with the Laval Rocket. What really sucks is all of us know, as people who want to get into sports media, it's not a large industry. It was shrinking as is, and even with the pandemic, the Athletic before everything was actually a platform that was growing. And it sucks like everything else that's been going around with the pandemic and the whole stuff with George Floyd, which is a subject for another day. But it's just it really hurts to see that this kind of stuff is happening at the Athletic, especially. It's just the worst time for this to happen.
Side question for you guys, since we're all in Jern here. Did you guys go to I think Adam, I know for sure you were there, but Alex and Daniel, were you guys at the panel for like where like Jesse Pollock was there? Who else
was that?
There? This is early in the year. It was like in November, December, and like they were holding a sports media thing for all the FCAD students could sign up. So you had to meet like Jesse Pollock. I'm blanking on so many people, but one of the guys from the Athletic, I think one of their editors was there. Right? No, Fitzgerald, Sean Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
He was a cool guy. So I wonder what a guy he was telling us, the Athletic is growing and how they're growing as a platform, and it sucks to see how it's getting scraped down because of times like these. It's tough, right?
Yeah. And I think earlier this year or late last year, they just jumped overseas to England, and they started doing soccer. I know they do Premier League. I don't know if they're doing anything else. So, but that sucks.
Mm. They had like a premier coach come in, right, and start writing for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I forgot who, but I heard that.
Yeah, man.
Really tough to see.
Sorry, Daniel?
Tough to see. Like,
yeah. Man, but what we'll do here is we'll go to the main event of the evening here. And the main reason we really got Mike on the show today. Actually, quickly, I don't want to forget about doing this. Mike, you have your own podcast. I believe you also write for The Eye Opener, do you not?
I am. I do write for The Eye.
So how about just you take a few minutes, tell us, the stuff you do, what people can check out. I really want to promote you here, Mike.
Thanks, buddy. Well, I don't know if you guys, any of you guys have done anything for The Eye at all?
No.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, so do you know LeBon then, Daniel?
Yes.
Yeah, LeBon. He's our sports editor there this year. He's news editor this year in his masthead, but he like honestly, the team at The Eye, there's some great people. So and now our own classmate Will Baldwin is now their sports editor. Yes. Shout out my guy. So it's honestly like this is my first year where I really started to step out and try and get some stuff to add to the portfolio and get some practice. And The Eye, I started this year like covering games and stuff like that. I kind of left RUTV News. I helped them out a bit because my buddy is their sports editor this year as well. But yeah, I got to do a couple of cool pieces this year. I covered a bunch of hockey games, some playoff games, and I think the pieces I'm most proud of though that I got to do was where I got to interview Steve Dangle at his book signing that he had here, and he was a seriously cool guy. He was so down to earth, talking about everything. And his story was really phenomenal, especially to hear it from his eyes, or from his own mouth. And he was a big fan of. I have a good friend, Fedor Gordiev, who used to be a Leafs prospect.
Oh yeah,
he's a buddy. So he's a buddy of mine, and so I kept Feddy was asleep or busy or something. I kept trying to FaceTime because I'm like, dude, this Steve Dangle's like your biggest fan. Like, but he was in Guelph. I don't know if he was busy or something, but he didn't answer me. But and then I got to do a story on David Ayers. Like all the people, like I was at the game. I was just watching the Ryerson game with my dad. And then LeBon hits me with the, hey, does anybody want to ask some people around the MAC what David Ayers is like? So I did. It turns out, dude, did you guys know that David Ayers is literally like head of operations at the MAC?
Yeah, I already heard that. Yeah,
I had no idea about that until I went around asking guys. Like, I asked, I forgot who I even talked about who I even asked in the story, but like there were some people who worked there, obviously some operations personnel. And they're like, yeah, he's actually director of operations here. And I was like, whoa.
I mean, okay. I bet he's a great guy.
I heard he's an awesome guy.
But like, it doesn't, he was a goaltender in an NHL game. He ruined my evening, probably my weekend.
Man.
So ruined like a month for me after all the meetings. But I think the most important thing, since you guys asked me about my stuff, obviously, I have my podcast and so I think it's just important that, you got to keep things I'm biased because I help out the Eye and stuff like that. But like, when it comes to student fees and opting out and stuff, like I think like, for example, we're all journalists. We're all just trying we all have the same end goal for the most part. And it's important to keep resources like the Eye, RUTV News, all the other places. It's important to keep them alive because they're the ones that keep us informed, whether it's on sports, it's on, the president apparently not wanting to lower our tuition for Zoom University. It's important to keep outlets like these alive. And I'm very appreciative for everything I've gotten to do, whether it's start off my podcast originally at Spirit Live as a radio show to a podcast now because of everything. And it's important to keep these things alive. And for people, especially if you want to make it like especially people in Jern, you have so many resources available for you. So you should, if you have something like that, then it's best to, obviously first year you're still figuring things out. So it's a little quieter. I didn't really do as much, but then this year's really like, where you want to take advantage of what you have offered to you. So I think that's my biggest advice for pretty much to anyone who's in the same situation as us, right?
Yeah. Well said there, Mike. You mentioned Will Baldwin. He's a guy I think he talked about. He's writing a new article, and we really want to get him on. A guy I got to know this year because he was in my lab with Cheryl first semester. Really, really nice guy. And just we'll get the sappy stuff out the way before we get into the playoffs here, because I know we're all itching to get there. But there are some guys that I know really, really well in this program. I kind of know Will. Mike, I don't know you that well, but every time we've talked, it's always been really nice. But I can tell like guys like you and Will who have done some really great stuff this year. That you're guys that you can tell, like, I'm sure people who went to school with Kyle Picassos could tell that he's going to go far. And Mike, I am going to be very surprised if you do not go far.
Thank you. When I had
go steal Kyle's job.
I'll do my best to. When I had Ken Reed on my show, he said something pretty interesting. He's like, dude, you could tell right away when Kyle Picassos was interning at Sportsnet, he was apparently the most phenomenal intern they've ever seen. Wow. So like you could see it in people like that when they have that kind of drive. And, you really hope for the best for those people. Like, Will's a buddy of mine. He was in my lab too in second semester in feature writing, and that course. But I'm sure you guys have had your headaches with that. But
oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's countless of other people in our program, whether it's in sports, it's in other lifestyles, or politics and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of people putting in the work, and you really hope for them to succeed. Mm-hmm. Especially because you want journalism students to make it further than sports media kids. I'm saying it now.
Making the statement.
The divide has been made.
Great. It's time for, I'll say it again, the main event of the evening. We got to get like a bell going there, or we just yell point to carry.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, guys, I'll just quickly mention we've got actually some updates to the playoff format. We know that after every round, there will be reseeding. All 4 of the normal playoff rounds will be best of 7. The play-in, best of 5. We're still waiting for official confirmation when it comes to the top 4 teams in each conference, and who's going to be what seed there, even though we all know it should just get Boston number 1. I don't care about the rest. But, of course, those teams for each conference, we have St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, Dallas in the West, and in the East, Boston, Tampa, Washington, and Philly, which I know you mentioned your show, Mike, but yeah, I've for years I've been like, what are Philly? And then they've somehow put it together.
I'm going to ask you guys one question before we get into the whole playoffs, like the matchups for all you guys. What do you guys think of like the available hub cities situation so far? I'm sure you guys probably must have touched about it before, but I want to see your take. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I said I can't see a way that a Canadian city ends up being a hub simply because of the 14 days. And this is nothing against Trudeau. It's just a fact. It doesn't seem like he's going to budge with this whole 14 days. And I think there's just a whole list of problems, starting with, the training camps are happening in each city, right? So Florida's going to do their training camp in Florida. Arizona's going to do in Arizona. But then they come, let's say it's in Toronto. They come to Toronto and now have to wait 14 days.
So all the work is gone.
Right. So it doesn't make sense. We'll see what happens in Vegas. I saw a video yesterday. The casinos opened yesterday and it was just flooded with people. So I guess that they're going to definitely monitor that situation. I could see Vegas being one of them. And if I'm picking a place in the East, if that's the route they want to go, maybe a smaller city that can fit them. Because I think it was about 600 600 team personnel in total.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
I wonder because, like, obviously I'm counting out the Canadian teams. I really don't think there's a way they do it. But then you also have, like, Chicago. I mean, right. Obviously we're not really getting into it with everything that's going on in the world. But even just the population in Chicago, it's just, I feel like that's a city that I would rule it out as well. And
I think we were talking about whenever it came out, we said Pittsburgh would seem like an option, Columbus, and I think Minneapolis. Was that one of them?
Yeah, I don't think that was what we're thinking about right now.
I'm with Daniel on that one.
I don't see it happening there now, but it's just, I think it's better to do it in a smaller city.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vegas is your best option because you can literally, I mean, you look at what the UFC is doing. They did it in Florida, and then now they're doing it in Vegas. Is they're just throwing everyone in one hotel.
It's perfect because the hotel's across the street from the ring.
Right. So it makes perfect sense. And now it's a matter of monitoring 600 people. That's a different challenge the NHL has to cross, but I think Vegas is a suitable one. Maybe Los Angeles but do you want to have two hub cities in the West? Probably not.
No.
But I think definitely it'd be interesting to see.
Like, it sounded like from day one, I think Friedman was the first one to kind of point it out, that Vegas was, if any team was going to be a lock, it would probably be Las Vegas. And it sucks that Edmonton is in Canada because the Rogers Center is just so – I almost said – it's just been so souped up. Apparently, it was voted like the best visiting rink too, and there's
I saw that too because it's so new, right? Rogers Place it looks wicked.
Mm-hmm.
The WHL team that gets to play out of there, lucky you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, again, Quebec City, the Videotron Center.
That is true. That is true.
Guys, it's there. I mean, Quebec's a bit of a problem, but like if there was a second city, I'd put my money on. I'd say Pittsburgh too, because apparently they're insisting on having another team in the East. And I mean, like, Pittsburgh isn't a massive city. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Talked about it before. I think James O'Brien from the NHL.com mentioned that too. Like, I mean, like, he kind of revised it. Like, no to Minneapolis. Vegas probably like the most viable option with the hotels. And I like that idea that we kept like Pittsburgh. That's a bit low key, but it's still considered like a hockey city in some sense to it.
I'm excited for that. I especially especially because like you already have two teams that are in the Philadelphia or the Pennsylvania in the Pennsylvania state. I mean, who knows, right? But I think those are some two viable options for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, third time I'm saying it. Main event of the evening, guys. Ding ding. Let's get ready to rumble.
Before we I have to ask Mike. Sorry. I think the NHL gets a lot of crap. A lot. Like especially Gary Bettman. And what do you think of the plan that they constructed? The 2014 playoff specifically.
I like it. Honestly, I mean, I know Gary gets a lot of flack, and honestly, I like Gary Bettman for everything he's done. Obviously, you have some failed experiments in Arizona, but then you have some wicked experiments that turned out like Vegas, and he's done a really good job at growing the game. If he can cancel that lockout, like if it doesn't happen, if he can avoid it, best commissioner I think ever. Now, going on to how he's handled the situation, I think it's gone well. I mean, there's especially in the sense that you couldn't just and just whatever team's in now, like you get it now, like that's it. Whatever team was in, if you missed the playoffs by a hair, which is like a lot of the Western Conference, a lot of the Pacific Division, right? That's not right. And you know what? I hate to say it. I have a lot of family in New York. I was born there. I was so fed up for being a Leafs fan for a while that you tend to follow another team. Rangers, man. And they were starting to make a huge push towards the end, and then the season got canceled. And, honestly, I really think they could have challenged for a wild card spot. And so I think it's unfortunate that teams like Buffalo don't get in. Sorry, Jack, suicide watch. But I think, it's a good format. It's not like, 1 to 30. That would have been a little too much. I don't like how the draft is going to happen.
Yeah.
The draft lottery is going to happen like that before the season. That's not really a fan of that. But other than that, I think the way they've handled it, the way they've laid out a plan, the way they've managed to lay out this plan, it's great that they did it before basketball and everything else. It's beyond me. So kudos to them. I do think I do approve of almost everything that the NHL has been doing. Just maybe not the draft.
Yeah, there was issues with the draft, especially with the lottery. I think they managed to fix a problem that I had the biggest issue with, which was how do you deal with the conditions?
That is true.
All right, and that's what I give them a lot of praise for, because I think that was going forward. That was going to be one of the biggest issues, and saying, yeah, you know what, just go deal with it. The NHL. I think the first time we heard about it was like the NHL is going to come up with with a proposal. You either accept it or you have to figure it out by yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's definitely not going to work. But for them to come and say the play-in rounds, not the playoffs. This is the draft lottery. Here are the conditions, and that's it. And they did it. They did it right. I think they did a really good job.
And another thing too, there's expiring contracts on June 30th, and these guys, that's it. They're off the hook, and the NHL is working with the United States government to keep them employed so that they can, extend that contract. And people often forget. I read that the only reason I completely even remember that was because I read it on The Athletic, but these guys aren't going to have travel visas, work visas, if they're a pending free agent, right? Because their contract's up in the air. But now, now I don't have to worry about you and I don't have to worry about Tyson Barrie not being there for the playoffs because, they managed to extend his visa in terms of that sense. And I think that's very good, that they got to work with the government. I didn't think there'd be an issue at all with them being able to do it, but the fact, that they're really trying to make it happen, you got to respect it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right. Alex.
Fourth time's the charm.
There.
Alex, anything to say?
No.
Daniel, anything to say?
I'm good. I'm ready.
One last thing to say, actually.
Mike, anything to say?
Wait, did he? No. My buddy Akil, I think he played with them. No, he didn't. Never mind. This is last year's team, the last year's World Junior team, the not good team. You got to do it like their captain Comtois did before every game. This is the main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. And now, it's time!
I know what it's like to be out a mile now. All right. Let's get ready. It's our time, boys. Here we go, boys. There you go. You ever hear Josh George's pregame ramble? He's like, all right, boys, here we go. Let's go.
No, the best is Kevin Hayes.
What's Kevin Hayes is?
Well, Kevin Hayes he's just the funniest guy ever. So him, the way he goes, he just calls out everybody's name. He's like, Frosty, Moose, Frosty, Ghost Bear. He's just giving everybody, he's just reciting everybody's name, and he's getting so hyped. And he's like, and then he does the Boston accent because he's from Massachusetts for Carter Hart. He's like, all right, let's go. Kinda hot. Let's go. I love this guy.
I used to be a ref. I don't know what I'm doing here.
I saw it. I'm just trying to help you.
I'm okay. We'll try a little something here. All right, Mike. No, that was terrible. No, that sounds kind of great. Hey, Mike.
No.
How's it going, Mike? We're going to go here now. We're going to talk about some playoffs, eh?
Boston Bruins, first off.
All right. Sorry, do we want to start in the East? Do we want to start in the West? What are you guys thinking here?
Just do it.
Do it? Let's get the West out the way because, let's be honest, we're Eastern bias here. Okay, We'll start off with a series that there's one in the East that's pretty dull, but I'm getting it's very difficult for me to get excited about Nashville, Arizona, because both teams have been such disappointments to me this year. So, Daniel, I say let's go through, elements of the series, and we'll finish off talking about that series with our predictions. Daniel, how do you see a series like this going does Taylor Hall show up for the Yotes? What are we thinking here?
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of 2-1 games, to be honest. Both teams kind of disappointed offensively this year. A lot of guys are going to have to show that they're kind of worth their money. As much as we talked about Matthew Shane being a nice guy, he had a bad season. We have, Philip Forsberg kind of not really doing too well, Kyle Turris, and on the other end, Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel have to really show up. So I think this goes to 6 or 7, but a lot of 2-1 games. But I'll give the edge to Nashville.
Nashville? No,
yes.
All right, Mike. How big of a factor is Darcy Kemper going to be in this series?
enormous. I think honestly, him and Hellebuck were right up there in Vezina conversation. And I think Kemper's, he on top of, obviously there's a lot of factors on top of the Yotes waking up offensively other than Connor Garland. Kemper's huge. Kemper's he's like, we're going to get into it later, obviously, but he's like the price of this series. If he can stand on his head, I think that's the biggest, because Pecorine is not Pecorine anymore.
No,
that we used to see.
Absolutely not.
And so I think this is the time for Darcy Kemper to rise to this occasion, and he can really stand on his head and steal this series. I think for sure. I think he's hugely important to Arizona.
Mm-hmm. And then Alex, I'll ask you a different kind of thing here. How important is it for Nashville's forward group to finally step up and do something?
Yeah, it's extremely. I think both. It's not just Nashville. I think it goes both ways. I think you look at who Nashville have. You look at Phil Forsberg, Duchesne, Johansson, Arvidsson, even Kyle Turris. Right? Like, I know you signed that 6-year deal and then our $6 million deal, and then literally in year one, it's just an absolute nightmare. And even going forward, it hasn't gone. It's really not gone as planned. They've been trying to find that center, and it just hasn't worked. And then they finally get Matt Duchesne, and it still hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm.
So they really do have to put, because if Darcy Kemper plays like Darcy Kemper has been this year and even last year, it's going to be incredibly tough for them to score. And I think that's a major factor, because Yossi led the team in scoring this year. It's not even their offense that people were talking about. People were talking about Roman Yossi, Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm, and Dante Fabro.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Those were the 4 guys everyone has been talking. All the good things have been going to those 4 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
you think about back when PK was a Predator, especially I think it was his second year when they were so dominant. Of course, then Ellis, Ekholm, the guys you've mentioned. But back then you had Philip Forsberg really, shining as a star in Nashville. But I think we're all forgetting about the real, factor of the series.
Phil Kessel.
My boy Craig Smith. Craig Smith.
Stop with
favorite
Craig
of the show,
Smith.
yes.
Stop with Craig Smith.
I don't know why, Mike, but I love Craig
What?
Smith. I don't know why. Great.
He got a gross playoff overtime goal once, but Craig Smith, man.
Decent name, Craig.
Wasn't it because you always got him in NHL in GM mode, and he always just consistently put up goals? Was that it, or was that a different guy?
Here's what Craig Smith is. He can play center. He can play wing. Oh, he's good for 20 goals, and anytime in GM mode, I see Craig Smith there.
Oh my gosh.
But I agree with a lot of you guys. I think I have been very clear that my disappointment of the year has been Nashville. And I think there is a part of me that's always had a large expectation for them because of when PK got dealt. I've always wanted to succeed. Now
if I can put a 2 cents in that as well, I think you're really looking at the same thing with Arizona. Outside of, like I said, Connor Garland, they've had a disappointing year for their forwards. And I'm going to put this as a hot take too. Phil Kessel's my favorite Leaf of all time. Mm-hmm. As much as Austin Matthews is my favorite player, Phil Kessel's my favorite Leaf of all time. But he has had a down year as well. Taylor Hall, honestly, it looked like the team got worse when they got him.
Yeah.
But those guys got to wake up, especially, Taylor Hall, if he wants to get ready for his free agency. And, I think it's a real big case of, but I still think forwards, they're better. So I think it's a game of their forwards plus their goalie against Nashville's D. It's
right.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say something just slipped my mind. God dang it. Oh yes. Another player who I think really needs to step up when it comes to Arizona, Clayton Keller signed that big deal.
Oh my God, yeah, he's so disappointing, man.
Remember his rookie season for the first 2 months of the season, he was fire, and and since then it's just been kind of flatlining.
His hands are yucky, filthy. But Like I've never like this guy. Like you can see the way these guys like Arizona likes because they got like some strong guys on D. They really like that D to D motion, and then they fire it over to the side to Keller, who can get a quick shot off. And also, honestly, I have not seen as many players that can cycle that puck as well as Clayton Keller. So I think from a technical standpoint, he's doing it. He can't finish, and that's why it's been tough this year. And he needs to be able to finish if Arizona wants to move to the second round or to the playoffs. Sorry, to the playoffs. Yeah.
You mentioned quick, great hands, and I'm just thinking of his teammate Michael Grabner.
I miss Grabner.
Man, one last thing on Arizona and thing I want to bring up there is one other factor that we got to think of Arizona besides just Darcy Kemper. Everyone else will be healthy, which never isn't it that the story of Arizona for the past decade? Always hurt, never score.
That's the reason they missed the playoffs last year, I think, because they just lost so many man games.
Right.
So final, just a little thing to move on here because we do have. We do have about 7 other series to get. But okay, Daniel, you said you're on Nashville, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I jumped the gun on that.
I'm gonna throw my hat in with Arizona. They're also my team that every year you're like, it's finally this team's year. I'm hardcore in Arizona. Is it fair to say Mike and Alex are going the Yotes as well, or?
Yeah, I'm going. Right. I'm going Zona.
All right.
Just you can't get past those Kachina jerseys.
No, shout because they're bringing them for the whole playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah, every home game they're wearing Kachina jerseys.
Man, fan service done right, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, Daniel, you'll be looking for the underdog there, right?
Yes.
Exactly. We'll move on to a series that I'm a bit out of order here. I was going to go Vancouver, but I really want to talk about Edmonton-Chicago because a lot of people talk about that. You know what? Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews. But on this show, me and Alex have very much been, yeah, but what else? Meanwhile, at least like Edmonton added some decent, Tyler Ennis is fine, Andreas Athanasiou. And again, the season was cut short and Draisaitl still had 100 points. And by the way, he's not even the best player on this team.
Yeah,
I think Edmonton's winning this no problem. Mike, what do you think?
Honestly, a guy I got to get familiar with at the Score. He's a really good guy also in person. I don't know if you guys have ever read John Mattis' stuff, but he wrote the 5 series here that have the possibility for the biggest upset. And I think Edmonton is obviously they're not the underdog in this. Chicago is, and they can pull it off. I really feel, but just like you said, it's the Patrick Kane show. Who else is there? Like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews. Corey Crawford's not Corey Crawford anymore. Where's Robin Leonard? He's gone. He could have been the goalie this series. And then you have like holes in the rest of it. Like Brendan Saad's not Brendan Saad anymore. Like they're really trying to go with the and honestly I think this is good for them. But I don't even like Seabrook isn't back for the playoffs. He's a robot, man, with everything that's just had to happen to his body. Duncan Keith, I think it's just on paper. I don't think it's leaning. I think they have the experience. They know the physicality aspect of the playoffs. They know how to play in the playoffs, how to train, how to sleep. But it's different. I don't know if they're necessarily their experience and their old boys club can jump the not pretty heavily favored guy, I'd like to say, in Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl. You just gotta learn how to be physical with those two. Because if you're physical, even though Draisaitl's a brick, man, Chuck couldn't even knock him over. But if you have those two, you gotta isolate them because I don't think they're scoring much without those two. It's their show, right?
Yeah, I bet Bowman really wishes he had Panarin right now.
Oh my gosh,
that's not where we're going. No,
Panera Bread, Pride of New York,
the Red Man.
I mean, you look at what McDavid did to Riley this year.
Oh my God.
What is he going to do to Keith, Slater, Cuckoo, Murphy, and Oli Mata? He's just going to run right through them, for fun.
The only person that I don't think that he would embarrass is Duncan Keith. I think Duncan Keith is the only one that could stand on his feet against McDavid because Duncan Keith can also hit.
Right.
That's very true.
Duncan Keith, he's taken people buckets off before with hits. So I think, and here's an interesting matchup that I read, because you have your, the score, again, one of John's colleagues, Matt Teague, wrote this, the biggest player matchups. And so, here's a very unique one that I read. It's a little different. I kind of read this and I'm like, what? But the number one defenseman on Edmonton that's going to be taking on Patrick Kane is Oscar Klefbom. So, that was a big matchup that they had. Apparently, they can write a whole segment about how is a big man like Oscar Klefbom going to shut down Patrick Kane, who literally spins around people.
Right. Yeah, I think, looking at Edmonton this year, I think they took a step forward, especially their D-core, right? I think we looked at their D-core and everyone looked at Adam Larson and said, hey, you just traded Taylor Hall and you got only Adam Larson. And you look at Ethan Bear, is it, what is he? It seems like he's been really good. What is he going to be next year? And then you look at Darnell Nurse and that guy, everyone had the highest expectations from. Maybe he's not going to hit those expectations, but he's still a pretty good defenseman, right? So I think it's a matter of if Patrick Kane, he's a really good player. Patrick, Adam said last episode or a couple episodes ago that he's one of the best players in the league.
For sure.
And he's right. So we'll see.
Arguably top 3 if you really want. I think if there was top 5 forwards at least, you can argue. It's obviously Sid. You got Crosby. Same person. You got Sid. You got Connor. You got Alex Ovechkin, Patrick Kane, and my boy Nathan McKinnon.
And you guys can't forget also when it comes to this matchup, none of these two really have goaltending.
That is very true. Man. Also, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No, I was going to say, Edmonton, at the beginning of the season, I was so hard on Edmonton. Maybe it's because all Edmonton fans are just absolute assholes to the Leafs, but, that's fine.
Everyone is.
Flugie
over here is a Habs fan. How do you think he feels?
He gives me a hard time, but I can deal with him. Yeah. But
our thing is kind of poking each other, too. Daniel chagrin.
But I think Koskinen, and while that deal looks that just
doesn't help when you fire the GM who signed it to him 2 days later.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
But he kind of proved a lot of people wrong this year. But can he do it in the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
And I think then that's the biggest question, because Mike Smith is not your answer.
Daniel, this is kind of weird. We're talking about matchups. And I've been thinking about this over the past few days, because one of the more, we talked about Arizona and disappointment earlier. Dylan Strome. Why is there a part of me that thinks Dylan Strome, Daniel, is going to step up against his former teammate in Erie, Connor McDavid? What am I thinking?
I don't know. I think so. I like Dylan Strome a lot. I wasn't even thinking of him, to be honest. Think about Alex DeBrincat. We didn't really bring him up. He had a disappointing season compared to last season, but I think he can still be a factor.
That's right.
Dylan Strome, I don't know. I still have so much hope for him as well.
Another
former junior captain.
That's true. Another guy on Chicago. See, what I've noticed the more and more we talk about Chicago is, we talk about the older guard, but they've got some young players. I'm thinking, and they're kind of all reclamation projects if you think about it.
Stromer, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Alex Nylander is another one, right?
The better Nylander.
The other one he's finally stayed healthy this year, guys. I wonder if those guys, how much of a series this really turns into, if those guys can really step up and prove themselves as real, core players for Chicago's future.
Well, other than Strome, they haven't really, Nylander didn't do much at all this year. Mm-hmm. It's really just been DeBrincat and Strome who've taken strides. And I'm happy for Dylan Strome because he had a tough soak in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And, I think he's going to play with some extra fire that he's playing. They're all best friends on the team. You have McDavid, who's best buddies with Strome, and then McDavid made it to the big time. Well, Strome had to play another year, so then he became best buddies with his teammate Alex DeBrincat. And how is this Erie reunion going to pan out? I'm very excited to see that mini. What if you see them in the corner? Stromer's going to come in, give a couple shoves to his old captain's back. I'm excited to see that, see how that goes, because playoffs tempers player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know who we forgot about? Dominic Kubalik.
Yes.
30 goals this year.
Thank you, Daniel. He scored one of the gross, like one of the luckiest goals ever against the Leafs.
I think my opinion's changing a bit more about this. I still think Edmonton are going to win. But yeah, Cooper League, decent player. DeBrincat gets his scoring touch back. But yeah, it's going to be a shootout nonetheless.
Fun series.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Imagine if they had Robin Leonard.
Oh yeah, this whole first round is just going to be so fun. And by the way, I think it's fair to say goaltenders are very much going to have an advantage here because like. How many of these players are really going to have their legs under them? How many of them are really going to be, Matthews, how much is he really getting done in Arizona with Reggie Anderson right now, But we'll talk about the Leafs a little later. I'm sure that's going to be a heated debate. Same with Montreal and that. Anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to Edmonton, Chicago, or should we go to the predictions specifically now?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well. I wonder if Corey Crawford even has legs.
Yeah.
Well, they can use Malcolm Subban. That's no issues.
Malcolm Subban, man.
Oh, my God.
I feel so bad for him, man. Malcolm Subban. What a guy. So, Mike, who's winning? Edmonton, Chicago?
I want Chicago to win, but I'm putting my money on Edmonton.
I like it. Daniel?
I feel the same way. I want Chicago to win, and I want them to kind of get it to 6, but maybe they will, but I think I have to go to Edmonton.
Here's another thing for you guys, just before we keep going with your predictions. I want Edmonton to win because there's no way in hell I want them to be in that draft lottery.
Yes.
Like it'll be a nightmare if they're challenging for a top pick again. A nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
If they get a top 3 pick, I'm jumping.
I'm done.
I'm done with hockey.
I always knew basketball was calling.
Yeah. I knew there was another sport that was knocking on the door.
Man, it's all right. Giannis is going to come in free agency and just they're going to overtake the Leafs.
Facts.
There you go. And Alex, who are you going to go? Money or Chicago?
Edmonton.
I think we're going to go a clean sweeper, and I'll go Edmonton. But yeah, like you guys are saying, it'll be a fun one to look at. We'll go and continue in our Canadian matchups here. With the state of hockey, Minnesota versus the hometown lads of Vancouver Canucks. Guys, I really think this is a story of can Minnesota's defense contain the young stars of the Vancouver Canucks? And Mike, you started talking about Prince Charming Brock Besser. He'll be a guy who will be healthy coming back. That'll be a big fact. So what do you think is going to happen between the Minnesota Wild and Vancouver Canucks?
Honestly, guys, because of the way Minnesota was selling at the deadline, they had no plans in being in the playoffs. So I think they're just like, oh my God, we're here. Like we're in the play-in round. What? So that's why I think they're just like they're gonna be scrambling, right? Because they're icing a roster that, they've been in the limbo for how many years of just maybe make the playoffs or make the playoffs out in one or maybe two, mostly one round.
Yeah.
But so that's why I think I don't think they were really preparing to go for a playoff run at all. So that's why they have no tools to go with it. I mean, sure, you got Kevin Fiala, Matt Dumba. You got some good players there and Stahl and stuff like that. But the young guns of Vancouver have just been so fun to watch. Elias Pettersson, literally dangle your pants off. This guy's yucky. Quinn Huggy Bear Hughes, my take for Rookie of the Year. Prince Charming Brock Besser. These guys have the best nicknames. Jacob Markstrom's first go here. Like these, I really think like the Giraffe and Tyler Myers, the overpaid Giraffe. But like, I really think they are suited up to just. I think they like. I'm just gonna go with my prediction here. I think they're gonna sweep Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Dubnyk is not the same Devin Dubnyk he was before. I really think like it's just kind of just a throw-in round because like Vancouver just they needed an opponent.
I mean, they brought in I think the biggest thing for Vancouver was bringing in Tyler Toffoli, right? I think that was added thing, right? You don't have
completely forgot about him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think with Michael Ferland not coming back for the rest of the year, I think bringing in Tyler Toffoli was the perfect thing. I know Adam was very critical of the trade because he doesn't think Vancouver should. Well, he also just doesn't like Vancouver, but he didn't think it was Vancouver's year to push. But you you don't know how long you have left with Markstrom. What are both Tanev and Markstrom going to leave in the offseason? And those are two pieces of the puzzle. And we know what Jim Benning does in the offseason. He likes to bring in pieces, but they don't necessarily fit his puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
For the record,
Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, like what
difference makers. Makers.
For the record, by the way, the reason I was mainly critical about Toffoli is because I was worried that you're probably not going to re-sign him, right? You talk about Markstrom and Tanev and the July 1st. Maybe if you don't sign all those dumb deals, you wouldn't be as concerned about losing your goalie. That's just me.
I'm sorry. I like Tyler Toffoli as a player.
Yeah.
But I'm such a big gear nut. Like when it comes to hockey gear, I'm such a nut because I've been working in this industry for how long in hockey, in retail and with hockey gear. And I'm a little bit spoiled. I only use top of the line stuff ever since my junior career ended. But oh my God, I hate Tyler Toffoli's bucket, the new Warrior helmet. I can't stand watching Tyler Toffoli and Drew Doughty play with this helmet. It just makes me root against them. I'm sorry. They're great players. Tyler Toffoli's sick, but God, that bucket is just so ugly.
I don't know where to go from there. Daniel, is there any chance that the ghost of Miku Koivu can lead Minnesota to an upset?
I think they could upset one game. I think it might be a sweep. Like, they can't score, We talked about in the summer Matt Zuccarello being their biggest acquisition. And
you got the tongue of a lizard.
Yeah, like it's just like that group. It's like guys that they might kind of still bring it to a certain extent, but they're so streaky.
As a Rangers fan, I love as a part-time Rangers guy, I love Zuccarello, but he's not a huge difference maker here. He's getting in the tail end, especially with his body and how it's holding up. And yeah, you summed it up perfectly there, Daniel.
It was like the Matt Zuccarello signing was as confusing to me as the Robin Leonard signing.
I was like, what is going on here?
It made no sense. Because we all thought Minnesota was finally going to start their rebuild, trade Jason Zucker.
Like, why are they trying to retool?
It doesn't – they need to strip down, and I think they were good. I mean, they were going to do that. Obviously they trade Jason Zucker and then almost trading Zach Parise.
That's such an albatross. That would have been so good for them.
Oh, it would have been hilarious. I would have made so much fun of the Islanders. I wouldn't even feel bad.
It was already a rough deadline.
Honestly, what's worse to take, the contract of Parise or the contract of – actually, no, because Parise is just a monster with how long it is. But Andrew Ladd is not a big win either because you're burying that as well. They're both tough soaks.
I remember I had a midterm the day of the deadline, and man, it was tough because I saw the tweet from Saravelli saying that the trade almost happened or the works of it. Going into my exam, I was like, I can't write about Peter Pan and that. I need to know what's going on with the
We had our documentary class.
Yeah.
Right after.
Man, that's going into class.
I'll tell you. All right, sorry, buddy. I'll give you guys a good one. You guys can't forget about this player because I broke this to Steve Dangle. I broke a trade to Steve Dangle. after his book signing, and so he had just a point where he was just signing books and taking pictures of guys after he had like his whole his question and answer period was over. And I checked my phone. We were talking, hanging out. I got to meet all the TSN Bar Down guys came over after, so I got to take pictures of them. They're so nice guys. I've met Jesse a couple times, but I broke this trade. And that's my claim to fame here. I broke a trade to Steve Dangle. I looked at my phone and I'm like, "Hey, Steve, Pittsburgh traded Alex Galchenyuk."
Oh God, yeah. Man, there's not a career that has gone more downhill than Alex Galchenyuk. Man, I could see maybe he gets a little hot. No, I'm not even going to try.
No, stop. Don't try.
No, what? He scored one nice overtime playoff game winner for the Habs and then fizzled out.
The last series they won was back then, man. He ran the Hamburglar out of town. That was,
yeah.
the highlight of his career. And where has the Hamburglar been since? He scored a goal on that guy. And
where is he? That's actually a good
I think he's in Colorado's farm system.
Awesome.
Because he was part of the Dutchy deal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think he's in Colorado's farm team.
So, by the way, we're all saying that Vancouver's winning, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess we can get back to what we were talking about. Yeah.
All right, last series in the Western Conference, and it is an all-Canadian matchup. Rogers' dream.
I like this one.
You know what? If we couldn't get the Battle of Alberta, I'm happy.
Consolation prize.
Yes. We get the Winnipeg Jets, who have all the firepower in the world, a Patrick Laine that has very much tried to make his game more complete, and probably the Vezina winner this year in Connor
Moose.
And, they get to play the Calgary Flames, who have been described as Toronto West. Guys, I don't even know where to start. This is just going to be – I've been critical of Johnny Gaudreau, saying, like, he doesn't really show up in the playoffs. But, man –
he hasn't shown up this year in general.
That is very true. Him and Monahan have been – what's the joke? That their faces on the side of milk cartons saying, "Where's Johnny?"
The best with Johnny Gaudreau is how deadline day he got off the ice for practice, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And he comes back. He's like, "Dude, I need to take a piss." Like,
Calgary had a weird year. They had not like on the ice they had a weird
down
year
here for sure.
Off the ice it has not been easy. First Bill Peters, which was a long time. Then TJ Brody, with him at practice. It's just been like mentally it couldn't have been good for them. And I think that maybe, this 2 months off, 2 to 3 or however long we've been off. I don't know how long it's been since we stopped everything. I stopped counting.
Seasons are changing. We've been in isolation so long.
But that could be a good thing for them. Like, just absolutely clear your head. Just stay out of everything, and come back better than you were before. And hopefully that's the case. Because if Calgary's on their game, that will be a very good matchup, especially against Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Daniel, what do you have got to say? I feel like you're a big fan of Winnipeg. They've got some World Junior alumni on there. Nicky Lee, Patrick Laine.
They're more determined. Like, they have the team, they have the goalie. Kind of came together as a team this year, especially with the way their defense has been in transition. I like with Calgary, I kind of feel like, we talked about the guys that didn't really show up, and then Elias Lindholm didn't, he came back to earth this year.
Yeah.
In a way, it's that kind of things like, will he become the guy or will he not? Like Noah Hannafin, we've talked about. So, I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't know. It's just something with Calgary. It's like something, not to the extent the Wild are like. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're scrambling or anything, but it's just kind of like they don't have like an identity. Like, fine, they're like, this is what we're gonna ride with.
Mm-hmm. Mike, if there's anything that's going to go against Winnipeg, it's that defensive core that is Josh Morrissey, a career-year Neil Pionk, and the man who basically Paul Maurice called a porn star of defensemen. How's this going to go? Because I can see Winnipeg winning it, but at the same time, that back end can be Dylan DeMello is your best stalwart.
To say they have holes in their defense is an understatement. Mm-hmm. Overall, honestly, you guys can't forget the biggest thing I think of this series. I genuinely believe this is going to be the most physical series. Like, this is going to be absurdly physical. These two teams are both Canadian. It's not the Battle of Alberta physicality. Like you said, consolation prize, still happy with it. But these guys are not going to like each other out there. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to knock some heads. And I think overall, the advantage goes to Winnipeg here. Winnipeg's got some more – I'm going to say this. I think the X factor, and I know he can do it, I think the X factor for Calgary to beat – like, to really trump Winnipeg's Patty Laine, Blake Wheeler, Nikolai Ehlers, I think, you got Sean Monahan's Sam Bennett, all those guys. But you also have the perfect playoff guy, I think, in Matt Tkachuk. Mm-hmm. And he is, if he's doing what he's doing, if he's, rolling guys over, if he's getting in their faces, being physical, getting dirty, and I think he's the biggest X factor for Calgary here, for sure.
I'm not going to lie, Mike. I thought you were about to pull a magic trick and say Milan Lucic. Won't lie. I thought you were about to say Milan Lucic.
Milan Lucic, the guy who, honestly, looking at him on the ice, I genuinely feel like I can skate as fast as him. I'm sorry. I'm not an NHL player, but this guy is a wagon. Like, at least Ryan Reeves can kind of has a stride. When I watch Milan Lucic, his stride looks like he's still like in minor hockey. It's the weirdest stride I've ever seen. But regardless, I mean, this is perfect for him. It's playoffs. He's not going to play unless in the few minutes he does get, it's just his job to just sucker punch a guy, right?
Right.
Is Matt Hendricks still in Winnipeg? Because I know he went back, I think, last year at the deadline. Because if not, then and also I think it's something that I don't think we haven't really talked about because we didn't really get to see it in action. Calgary brought in a few defensemen, Eric Gustafson, most notable one because of injuries to guys like Mark Giordano. Calgary are going to have a suited up defensive core when it comes to the playoffs and guys coming back and being healthy. I wonder how much of a
Giordano, if he can do what he did last year or just a bit of what he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I think the biggest thing for Winnipeg is, Patrick Laine is a different player than he was last year, and we know that he can just flick a switch and he'll just be an absolute goal-scoring machine. But I really think it's Connor Hellebuck, because if Connor Hellebuck slows down, that defense, because that defense has a giant hole in it, it might get ugly.
Mm-hmm.
It might get ugly for Winnipeg.
I think it's very fair. Anything else to say on Winnipeg, Calgary here, lads? Finish off the Western Conference. No, we're good?
Really think it's just anyone's game.
That's fair. I think, either team could really win. I'm going to put my money on Winnipeg because I just love them so much. I just really – there's just – they're not the most beloved team in the league. That's a certain – team in Carolina, which we'll get to. But also that. But yeah, Winnipeg, Calgary. I'm going to put mine on Winnipeg. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to have to roll with the same. I'm thinking Winnipeg, but I honestly think this game can go to 5. This game can go to 5.
Yeah, I kind of agree too with Mike. This is going to 5. Winnipeg.
Alex.
Yeah, I have Winnipeg winning.
And just one thing I quickly want to ask you guys before we go to the Eastern Conference. How much of a difference is a 5-game series, you think, compared to a 7?
Exactly what these guys are complaining about. Like, we don't want to play Patrick Kane. Like how they've said that, or we don't want to play against Carey Price for just 5 games. Like, with such little time, you start to fizzle out, obviously, as you have more games. But now they're playing a lot more, like they're with less time, less games played. They can rest just that little bit more, and they have that much more of a fighting spirit in it. So that's why I think it is quite a difference. That's my take.
We just talked about the most exciting possible series in the Western Conference. We might as well start off with the same for the Eastern Conference. The New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers, guys. And you know what? When I was looking at this, Joe Quenneville is, arguably one of the best coaches, in history. Probably, arguably, again, the best in today's game. But, man, I look at this series, and I think, another mess for Chicago. But I look at Florida, and I think, man, wouldn't all their problems kind of be solved if Barry Trotz could run his system on that team?
That is true.
Yeah, because then they wouldn't have to worry about Sergei Bobrovsky.
Maybe he could have a save percentage over 900.
Why the hell was Florida selling at the deadline?
Man, yeah, that's the video. I think, Alex, you made a very good point at the deadline that they were looking, Mike, for a defenseman. You know this, right? That they were looking for a guy to play with Ekblad, and instead traded Vincent Trocheck for Eric Howe.
I was watching this unfold, and I'm just, throughout this time as Leafs fans, I'm sure Daniel, Alex, you guys felt the same way. We're just like, okay, we need to get a step on Florida. Florida passed us at a point, right? And that's who we were battling with here, and Montreal, I guess, as well. But like, that's like the battle for, that last spot in the division, because there's no way. I don't think we're gonna get a wild card. Florida, granted, wasn't a wild card spot, but were they? I don't know. But like then you see them trade Vinny Trocheck, who he was broken for a year, but like he's still a better player than Eric Howla and Lucas Wallmark. Like,
if they traded Vincent Trocheck and brought in someone who could play with Aaron Ekblad, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Exactly.
But they brought in players who are, I think 2 of them are going to be free agents at the end of the year.
It's literally like they're trying to split up one player into 2.
Yeah.
They do that. I don't understand why they do that.
And then I don't remember if it was Friedman or I think it was Chris Johnston came out after the trade deadline and said that the owner told Dale Talon that he needs to shed $10 million in salary. That's why he traded Vincent Trocheck.
And I was like, what?
So you signed Sergei Bobrovsky for $10 million on July 1st, and not even a season later, you're telling me you need to get rid of $10 million in salary?
Why?
Let's ridiculous.
I just realized we're going a bit off here. So the matchup itself, though. Jesus. I think Florida has a good chance of winning. If Sergei Bobrovsky tries,
wake up,
or if he it's like the year when Columbus started like 0-5 and then he got his coach fired. I don't even remember who their head coach was back then, because if it's not Tortorella, I don't care.
Before Torts, I forgot.
Yeah, like pre-Torts doesn't matter really. But I mean, you look at Florida, and besides all their problems, you still have Alexander Barkov, who is a sensational player.
I don't think he's underrated anymore.
No, God, no, he's not.
Huberdeau's underrated.
Yes, and Jonathan Huberdeau, another guy who I think like over the past 2 seasons is at like 150 points or something stupid like that. He's ridiculous. Where do you guys see this series going? Because I mean, like, what do the Islanders really have to combat against this besides Matt Barzal?
A defensive system.
Yeah,
that's true. Shots to the outside.
Like you got Pajo, who could probably do some stuff there. I don't know how, but they're like defensively, you're right. And don't forget they have defensive stalwart Andy Green now.
Devil's great.
But Mike, apparently to information and analytics not available to the public, he's a good defenseman.
Apparently he's an analytics he's an analytics, just like they love him there. But I mean, just like we've been talking about this entire time, Trotz knows how to lock it down. It's like the Senators years ago. Do you remember when they were rolling out the boring hockey? That's pretty much. And the only difference is that Ottawa had some scores, so I was kind of wondering why they were doing that. Like that neutral zone cycle was just boring to watch. But with their real defensive collapse that they do, like the style of collapsing that they do with New York, it's insane how they've actually managed to pull it off. Even though they're not like a top team, they're still a pretty, Trotz is still Trotz. And
right.
And who do they got now? They got Grice in that. Who are they rolling with? Grice
and
Varlamov.
I think it's Varlamov.
Yeah, I think Varlamov is rolling it against fellow countrymen who, he's the X factor there. Can you're on the case Bobrovsky wake up after signing $10 million and mailing it in this year?
Yes, I think New York has a secret weapon that the Panthers don't have.
I think Pajo honestly can chip in too. I think he's a little overrated, but I still think he when they acquired him, that was a big acquisition. I think I think he'll be a factor in the playoffs as well. Even if their captain, who Anders Lee, if he can do something, like it's a lot of question marks for a lot of these teams. I think we're noticing a trend in all of these matchups that we're talking about. It's a lot of, can this guy wake up? Can this guy wake up? Because so many people have had down years. Right. Can New York, can they have some form of offense? Can Bobrovsky wake up?
I think if Barry Trotz lets Matt Barzal do something.
Take his reins.
Yeah, I mean, he probably won't do that, but I think if he would, it would be a completely different ball game, because you saw what he did in his rookie year. He put in 84 points in 82 games, and he just looked like an absolute beast. And I think a lot of people's arguments were he's playing with John Tavares. Half of his point, like most of his points, I think I counted five or 6 points were with John Tavares.
Yeah, they were split up. They were
split up.
Not even a question.
So
Draisaitl and McDavid, except for the power play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I think he should, because then he can get even more money, and it's gonna be hilarious for me to see what Lou does, because there's the portion of Leaf fans who say Lou Lamoriello would have done a much better job than Dubas.
Let's not get into contract talks, eh?
Okay.
I mean, the albatross there that happened, it wouldn't have happened under Lamoriello's watch. We know that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only one that would have been vastly different was Marner. I don't think he would have gotten as much, but I think Nylander would have got that 6.9. I don't think Lou would have traded him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, the big thing was apparently Nylander had that deal at the draft, or that
September.
Waited to give him that specific deal to that late.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Daniel, what about your take on the series? Again, a big point that we're kind of talking on here is, if you take the reins off of not just Matt Barzal, Jordan Eberle, pretty damn good player as well. Another World Junior favorite of yours, Daniel.
Yeah, I love. I think I talked about it before. I think when we did the hypothetical Canada teams, I picked Barry Trotz as my coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think they win if they could, use that system to their advantage, and Florida kind of just succumbs to it. But if everyone kind of wakes up for the Panthers, like talked about, then it could be interesting. I think this one goes to 5,
mm-hmm.
but it's definitely a tough one. It is going to be, I think, the battle of goaltenders too. Bobrovsky and Varlamov have both been streaky in the playoffs before, so it's going to go down to that, I think.
All right, Mike. Instead of asking who's going to win, I have a better question. Are you going to watch any of the games in this series?
I might catch one, because I guess the way they're going to roll these games is throughout the day, like the Olympics. So I guess if I want to watch hockey, I'm going to have to be forced to watch one of these games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't get fans in either of these two teams' seats, I swear to God, the Leafs have more players or more people watching them in warm-ups than Florida and the Islanders do.
Yeah,
does Florida have the advantage because they just don't have anyone in the stadium?
They're so used to it. They're just used to it. I mean, remember the most I've ever seen a stadium packed for the Islanders was the Tavares game. It's literally the only time I've ever seen it that filled, and that game was disgusting.
Didn't Riley Smith say a couple months ago? He's I played in Florida for a couple of years.
Yeah, he made a shot in the dark there.
And then Barkov, he won an award. Yeah, and it was there are more Panthers fans here than in Florida.
That was so funny.
I love the Finns. They've got a great sense of humor. But hey, let's just thank God we got that. I didn't think we'd go that deep into such a boring play. But hey, we'll go into really what I am very confident is going to be the most fun series in this playoffs. Carolina versus New York. Carolina, absolute wagon to join on. Just such a fun team. They don't feel like they belong in the NHL because they're they have fun. And I mean, you talk about the Rangers, I think they're probably one of those top 4 teams if Ilya Sorokin played the whole year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If they stop playing Hank, I'm sorry, but the guy's on his way out. And I mean, if Zibanejad scores another 5-goal game, not a big deal. I mean, but I think for this one, honestly, I really do think. I mean, look, overall they are a complete team. They're a pretty complete team. Carolina, in terms of they've got Svechnikov, who just exploded this year, and a bunch of other players. Now you got Trocheck. Defensively, they're very sound with Slavin, and Jake Gardner's their worst defenseman. And then
sorry to interrupt, but we were looking at Daily Face-Off a few episodes ago, and even with missing Vatanen, who hasn't even played the game, and missing Dougie Hamilton, their defensive core is still better than most other teams.
Even I don't know how they would give up a first rounder for this, but Brady Shea.
That was such a "are you kidding me" deal. When I saw it, like, what are you doing?
So then, overall, I just think they're a more complete team, and even in goal, overall, I just think they're a better team than the Rangers. I mean, I love, dude, my favorite Ranger right now, I hate to say it's Tony D. I love Tony D. Sorry, it's Breadman, but I love Tony D on the side too. But I think honestly, those are the tools that, like, if the New York Rangers beat the Carolina Hurricanes, like I want them to, that is an upset. Like that is an upset, an upset that even though people know it, I think people think, you know, in their minds it could happen. That would be still like an upset.
Definitely. You mentioned the bread man for a second there, so let me ask you this, Daniel. How big of a factor is Artemi Panarin, arguably a Hart winner this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big factor too. But I think it's like when we talk about the Erik Karlsson thing, like the way the team's kind of built, especially when I look at their center depth and like a lot of the young guys they have on that team, it's going to be like not to the extent like the Erik Karlsson situation, but you know, Panarin might have to drag the offense. With Zibanejad, like he will be there, but like I don't think he's at that level yet when we talk about Panarin. Like I just like when I see Ryan Strome as the second line center, it just kind of worries me a bit.
See, I have maybe I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Hurricanes goaltending. Like
that's it for me too.
You know, sorry, I love James Reimer.
Optimus Rhyme. I don't think he can do it.
I adore that man, but I don't think he can get it done. I mean, he carried the Leafs once. I don't know if he can do it again.
That's fair. I don't trust Peter Mrazek.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's a dumpster fire. I don't think.
Had a year in Detroit and had a good stint like last year, and that was it. And everyone sings this. I don't trust Mrazek at all.
I think Shesterkin has to play. And I think he's gonna if the Rangers like, you know, Hank's on his way out there, I think Panarin, him and Mika and Zibanejad and Tony D, I think they're, because like what has Jacob Trouba done this year after that big deal, right? So I'm really thinking if the Rangers are to somehow pull off an upset, it's because of Shesterkin and because of Zibanejad and Panarin. Mm-hmm. Overall, though, I still think the advantage goes to Carolina. I think they're the more complete team, and I think this will go to like 4 probably.
I mean, even if you look at, let's say, Capo Caco turns it on like what he was supposed to be the entire year. You look at the other guys who were supposed to turn it on. We know that Carolina can play that defensive game, right? The game against the Leafs where David Ayres played.
God damn.
Like that was the best defensive performance I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
That was incredible.
So how long did it take for the rage to like split in your
A couple days. I think after we recorded the podcast, and I'm like everything.
Oh man, that episode was just, I think I was just laughing because I was ready for you to explode. By the way,
I think Steve Dangle's video was hilarious on that.
Man, there's that one point where like he's talking about the Sabres, like you're mad at the Sabres, and then he does like they lost the workshop, and his voice just cracks like I've never seen before. Or
the best is when he's like, normal teams, in normal instances, the losing team would actually shoot. I was dying. It was so funny.
500,000 views, like easily. Like shouting because he was like trending 1 in Canada. By the way, I'm embarrassed. I just realized I called Igor Shesterkin Ilya Sorokin. I thought he was the Islanders.
It's Washington's guy.
Yeah, or is it Washington?
No, I'm thinking No,
that's
Washington.
Samsonov. I'm an idiot. Yeah.
Where did all these Russian goaltenders come from?
Who knows, man? Like,
man, them in Finland are popping up. Anyway, it's Igor Shesterkin. You're right. I don't know why I called it Sorokin. But man, I think I'm going to go with Carolina. For the sole reason I'm thinking that Sammy Vatanen is going to be their fourth best defenseman if he's healthy. Dougie was fantastic. Svechnikov finally got some power play time. And I really want Carolina to go all the way. I love them so much. What about you guys? Who are you going with this? Just such a fun series.
I have Carolina.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're just the more complete team, and it's another case of where I want the Rangers to win, but if I'm putting money on it, it's going on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, Daniel, who do you got?
Yeah, I have Carolina. I have like a weird thing when I think about it. Is that if we ask next year, then it would be different because like the Rangers have so many pieces that I want to see. Like, let's see what they can do.
Yeah.
In year 2. Yeah.
Elias Anderson, does he show?
Yes. That
guy wants out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, Foxy Clean. Can't forget Adam Fox.
Oh, that's very true. Why do we have you, Mike? Before we move on to the two most important series, I want to ask you because I love Elias Anderson so much because I loved it when he threw his stuff in his hands. What are your thoughts on Elias Anderson and that whole situation going on with New York?
Honestly, it's tough, man. I think like first from throwing his medal into the crowd, and then now he wants out of New York because he can't make it so far, or they're just trying to develop him a lot more. He just hasn't made it yet. It's sad to see that like the guy. Honestly, he seems like a real cop out. Like it's his way or the highway, really. Because it's not working out right now in New York, so you can see why he's demanding a trade. And then, I mean, they can't trade him for a while, obviously. But then you have like, I like the guy, but he's gotta get it together. You know, there's honestly some players on the Rangers with some attitudes, like Tony D. We don't even want to get into that, but like, I think Elias Anderson. Honestly, I think it's time to move on from him. I don't know what you can get for him, honestly, at this point, but I think it'd be best for them to move on from him.
Do you remember who's technically suspended, Mike? Brendan Lemieux is technically suspended.
Yes, you're right. Brendan Lemieux. I love Brendan Lemieux, man.
He's just like his dad.
Yeah, just like Claude.
Man.
Brendan Lemieux is that guy's a fighter. That guy he's a bruiser.
All right, we've got two series left. Because 3 of the 4 of us are Leafs fans, we'll save Toronto for last. So just give me a second. I just want to get something real quickly.
Are you going to put your hat on, too?
Oh.
No,
You did this before.
Hold on. You guys just talk about something. I'll be right back.
Okay, I will. So I told Adam when the Canadians got Ilya Kovalchuk, I told Adam they needed to trade him by the trade deadline because it just didn't make sense.
At least they did.
At least they did. Now I'm telling him, what if they had Ilya Kovalchuk? Wouldn't that be so much better? If they had Ilya Kovalchuk, at least they have a goal scorer.
Oh, my God, Adam.
He's going to put on his mask. It's lovely.
Guys, I have a really big head, too. So this is actually a signed mask from Carey Price, actually.
That's so sick, man.
It's like one of his ones that, like, he gets, like, 6 or something made every year. And when I lived in Montreal, I knew a guy who used to work for the team, so I got it. But anyway, for those of you who are wondering why is my audio so weird if you're not watching the video, I put on my Carey Price mask. I put down one of the 4 pictures of him I have in my room. Because, baby, Montreal are going all the way. Let's go. Forget it. Sidney Crosby is toast, Mike.
Hashtag canceled.
Canceled. It's only good when Sidney Crosby is out. And guess what? Sidney Crosby. By the way, the Penguins never have a good start to this. Okay, this is very difficult.
Terrible to start. They're terrible to start.
But in all seriousness, beside the fact that I'm holding in one hand a massive Carey Price and a picture in the other.
This guy's the Steve Dangle of Montreal.
This is true.
It's an interesting combination.
You heard a crash. That's because I was opening my display case and a bunch of pucks just fell out from games I've been to. But anyway, I really think that Montreal could surprise here. And the main reason you're going to think I'm crazy here is that top line of Brendan Gallagher, Philip Deneau, and Thomas Tatar. Such an underrated line. Whenever they played the Bruins, as much as one team can, they did a great job of shutting down the perfection line. I mean, you've got some great young mix of youth, like guys like
Wait, before you keep going, I'm going to tell you one thing. I really genuinely don't think they have a chance if Max Domi isn't allowed to play.
If what? Sorry?
If Max Domi isn't allowed to play.
See, so I was listening to your podcast, obviously, Mike. And, so who is your buddy? Is he a Habs fan?
John is a huge Habs fan, too.
Okay, all right. So I don't agree or disagree with that because Max Domi last year was, I think, arguably Montreal. I think he was best or second best forward because Philip Deneau is very underrated, and then offensively, Brendan Gallagher is a bastard to play against.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think – if Max Domi is not playing, I don't think that decides Montreal's fate entirely. He is a massive part of the team regardless, but if Montreal's top line is – if they don't perform, then that's the death sentence. But again, Matt, because they're such healthy, 5-on-5, they're one of the best scoring teams in the league. But that's the problem: how healthy you're going to be for this run. And of course, Carey Price isn't the best goalie in the world anymore, but I still think he's one of the better goalies in the league.
What is Jonathan Drouin going to do in his playoff debut with Montreal here?
Yeah, that's tough because in Tampa he was good in the playoffs before he got hurt. Yeah, and
before he got nailed. Mm-hmm. Oh, he got nailed. That was. I remember he got lit up. I forgot who in the Islanders just clobbered him. But regardless, keep going with Drouin.
Yeah, it's at the beginning of the year he really started to look like the Jonathan Drouin we all thought he'd be, and then messes up his hand. Then one of the first games he comes back from injury, he sprains his ankle. He hasn't had a chance, and it is the question. Yeah, but at the same time. Jonathan Drouin's in Montreal. He's one of only two players who are still in Montreal. He's the hometown guy, and I have a lot of faith in him. Is a lot of this – I won't lie, Mike. Am I someone who says, and probably gives Montreal more of the benefit of the doubt, considering I was just wearing a goalie mask and I have a tattoo on my leg? Yeah, but I really –
a tattoo?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that. Let's see this.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just – I didn't give myself a lot of risk here. I've got – hold on. There you go. And I'm thinking of getting Carey Price to mask for my 21st. But anyway, I look and Pittsburgh never have good starts, right? But at the same time, you wonder, now they have Jason Zucker. Jake Gensel will be healthy. The Pittsburgh will be healthy. Generally, we talk about Arizona. Pittsburgh are never healthy too. So, sir, I am talking a lot. So, I'd love to get your guys' thought on this. Alex, I know you're definitely going to disagree with me, but just let me try and put this picture back up.
I think it all starts with if Carey Price is playing well. I think if Carey Price isn't playing well, even if that first line is performing, they have to overachieve so much because we know Montreal's left side is not very
good.
He's not very and I'm just using the Leafs as an example. That's because I know that's what I know best. When one side of your defense isn't strong and the other team is a smart team, they will absolutely hammer your strong side. Right? Mm-hmm. Right. That's what they did with Gardner. Then Zaitsev had to do a breakout pass, which I've never seen him do ever. You had Ron Hainsey on his offhand doing breakout pass. I can't even describe how.
I don't even forget how bad it was because that was with Babcock, who only did the long pass system.
Right. So
sufferance.
Yeah, it was. I don't like to remember that. But so I think there's multiple things that have to go right with Montreal to pose a challenge to Pittsburgh, and I think their top six in Pittsburgh is extremely strong with, Crosby, Zucker, and Sheary, and then Malkin, Gensel, and Brian Rust. That's an extremely strong top six. And, a lot of people like to hate on Matt Murray, but he'll just show you his hand and those 2 Stanley Cup rings.
Well, a Habs great. Matt Murray can't hear you because he has his 2 Stanley Cup rings plugging his ears.
Yeah.
The 2 cups he got when he was still technically a rookie.
Now, Alex, I'm going to ask you, do you think they're going to roll with Murray because of his experience? Or they're gonna roll with the better goalie this year in Tristan Jarry?
I think they end up rolling with Murray. Or you know what? What they could do is they start with Tristan Jarry. They do what Washington did a few years ago, starting Grubauer in the playoffs.
Holtby, I remember that.
And then bringing in Holtby. I think it was against Columbus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then bringing in Holtby when Grubauer wasn't playing up to par. That's a possibility, but I think that they should really try starting with Murray just because of the experience.
I mean, Pittsburgh did that the same thing with Fleury,
right?
In his last year. Matt Murray took the reins once Fleury had one bad game.
I think they were
leading towards Murray, though. They were leaning towards Murray, though. They were getting ready to get rid of Fleury. But that's another story.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think the biggest thing here is Sidney Crosby and Jason Zucker were playing yucky together. Yeah. So for them, I think if they can keep what they had, they can light up Montreal. But at the same time, though, I would not want to be, the playoffs is physical, and I would not want to be facing off against Shea Weber. I would not be wanting to carry the puck or go into the corner to get the puck with Shea Weber, even though he's had his broken bones and stuff like that. The guy's a wagon. And the guy's slap shot, I don't know. Like, I remember, which goalie was it that took it to the face? Mrazek?
I think a few have. Mrazek has, and Corey Crawford did once as well.
I think Rask did as well. I think Crawford, he was the one who was like literally like he like almost like Cade.
Shea Weber has broken the net like in the Mighty Ducks. He has. I think he broke Brendan Gallagher's hand. Yeah, he did.
He did. I remember because he slid right into it, and you see him get off, and he's like his hand is literally.
He goes. They scored the same shift that happened because he just ran off. But anyway, yeah. Shea Weber is. Like, you argue about Montreal's left side, Alex. It's not. I love Brett Kulak, but when Brett Kulak's. I met him. Nice, really nice guy. But when Brett Kulak's come, the right side is great with Jeff Petrie and Shea Weber. But yeah, after that, there's not a whole lot going on down there.
Ben Chirot.
You say that? Ben Chirot has somehow been really good as a. He had like 10 goals.
I know. I was surprised by him.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, Winnipeg could have used him.
But I think if Sidney Crosby can do what he did to Ryan Donato in this series, oh gosh, just ended his career there. And then you have Zucker, you have if you have their defense stand up, like if Chris Letang actually wasn't too bad this year. And if you get him firing, and obviously I think the X factor's got to be Johnson.
That's what I was thinking. Doc Johnson. Can't forget about that guy.
But yeah, I mean, I really feel like this is. You know what? I'm just gonna stick it here. I think Montreal can pull an upset. I genuinely believe Montreal can pull an upset. I'm gonna say it. I don't want them to. And I know that I know Adam might be surprised that I'm actually like taking to Adam's benefit. I'm going to take the wheel and say I honestly would love to see Montreal embarrass Pittsburgh.
Oh, it'd be hilarious.
That'd be the funniest thing ever. But I don't want it to happen.
But then Pittsburgh would have to get Alexis Lafreniere.
And then I would be like, hockey's broken.
I'd find another sport. I'll watch KHL.
Hey, is lacrosse still going?
Yeah, I'll find something else to watch.
Daniel, what do you make of this whole scenario? Who's going to come out? Because you know the famous. All of us have heard this saying before. Never count out Sidney Crosby.
For sure. The way I kind of see it is like it's not like a mudslide of offense. The way I see it, because Montreal has stopgaps like Philip Deneau, and like Jonathan Drouin has like a pretty solid two-way game as well.
No, he doesn't.
Well, here and there. He back checks here and there when he can.
He tries. Like he's better than Laine, but
yeah. I
appreciate it.
I can see Montreal kind of giving them a challenge. Like, I would not be surprised if they could actually pull it to like Game 5.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's like one of those things where if they pull it to Game 5 by that point, Pittsburgh figures it out, and then it's kind of like a blowout Game 5.
Mm.
What? How dare you?
Wow.
I think for me, I think Montreal can pull the upset. I just think multiple things have to go right. And only one thing has to go right in Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin have to wake up.
You say a lot of things have to go right for Montreal, or one particular has to go right.
First and foremost.
Yeah,
obviously.
yes.
Man, and that's of course, Oh, no, I was gonna say Nate Thompson, but they traded him. God damn it, I forgot about that.
Oh God.
Man,
Yeah,
Nate,
but
great
the
story.
first and foremost thing is that they need, like Alex said here, like they need to be lucky in that sense that they need things to click. You need their top line just to be able to score on top of Carey Price playing like his otherworldly self, and then you need this is a secondary one, but you got to hope Max Domi's playing too.
Yes.
Right.
Another guy like Nick Suzuki is a guy where, that's a rookie who, that's his first year, and playing that full season's already tough enough on rookies. We saw that with Jesper Kotkaniemi. Another guy, where is he going to play or not? Because he was also hurt.
Expanded roster, you got to bring in Ryan Poehling.
And he does not have a good look right now. If they play the Leafs, you bring in Ryan Poehling, but
Yes.
man, he's taking some PR hits after he retweeted some Trump stuff. But okay, so we'll take the final tally here. Alex, Montreal, Pittsburgh. Daniel, Pittsburgh, Montreal.
Pittsburgh.
Hey, Mike, you want to Mike, can I transfer to your podcast? I don't like these guys anymore. Anyway, Mike, Pittsburgh, Montreal.
You're not going to like me either, buddy, because I got to roll with Pitt on this one.
All right, I'm going avec les Canadiens de Montréal, nos équipes nationales.
I honestly, I think it'd be hilarious if they can pull an upset, and I think they can. You just have to kind of put your money on Pittsburgh.
That is fair. That is fair. Again, I joked about it. Crosby and Malkin are otherworldly creatures. But hey, by the way, I didn't ask you guys on purpose, but just for the sake of it, Islanders or Panthers, who's going to win?
Oh, we forgot that. We forgot. Yeah. That's how forgettable of a series it is. We didn't even.
Yeah.
I got Panthers.
Panthers, all right. Alex?
Islanders.
Daniel?
Islanders.
I'm going the Panthers because I can't stand the Islanders.
This is the first time we've had multiple votes. So, wow.
Yeah, all right.
Before I'm gonna give you guys a funny story here before we get into the next series. It's about Adam actually. Our last day of first year.
Oh, okay, I remember this.
We were all saying goodbye to Shanaz and leaving our lab, and he comes up to me and he's telling me about how he's saying good year, and I'm telling him good year, and this guy, you could see how much of a Habs fan he is. He's like yeah, unfortunately, I hope you make it someday, and hopefully I do too, because I know I'm going for the other team here. Unfortunately, he leaves. I'm like, yeah. I knew he was a Habs fan from the start of school, when I first met him on day one, but then this guy is he's Habs hero after he told me after that last day there when we were all saying our goodbyes.
I also said to Mike and it's weird because I was completely stumbling over my words. Mike asked me, wait, what are you saying, dude? And I said, I know you're going after Bukowski's job too, but so am I. So watch out there.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, it was,
at least Bukowski's is in Ottawa now, so it's not like we're trying to take from. I'm not trying to take.
You gotta take the second McKenzie.
Sean.
Oh my God, Sean!
He's got a decent stash at least.
Oh my God,
his cookie duster is pretty nasty.
Speaking of stashes, we got the best stash coming up.
Man, all right, so we're on to the last greatest series. It's so bad. I'm not no, we're gonna.
I thought that was going away after Halloween. I'm like, you know what? He's doing Freddie Mercury. That's fine.
Did the entire year,
and then it's still there. I'm like, man, just get rid of this thing, please.
All right, guys. Here we are. The Columbus Blue Jackets, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the story here is definitely the Leafs. They're really polar opposite teams. The Columbus really grind you down, star defensive guys, Seth Jones, Zach Werenski. The Leafs are superstar, pure skill. Lovely, lovely stuff. guys, I don't really know where to start here. You're the Leafs fans, so I'm going to let you guys just kind of do free willy here. But one thing I do have to ask, can the Leafs fix and go up against Elvis Merzlikins?
Yes.
The best name.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not even just going up against Elvis Merzlikins. Can Sheldon Keefe, who's younger in the coaching section in his first year as an NHL coach, take on the likes of the 61-year-old amazingness of John Tortorella?
He's 61.
How old now, eh?
Tortorella is 61 years old.
I would have never guessed he was 61.
He's been around he won a cup with Tampa, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before.
I didn't realize he was that. The biggest issue,
he's 61 years old. Holy crap. Wow.
The issue I have with Columbus is that they really have to try to score goals, even when they're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they scored 180 goals this year, and that's tied for third worst in the league.
Wow.
Right? And yeah, they're like when they come back, they'll get Seth Jones, Cam Atkinson, Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Was Korpisalo hurt too? I think he was.
I think he had just come off the IR. Bjorkstrand, Murray, Alex Texier, and I think they might get Josh Anderson back, but it depends on when they start playing.
Yeah, I remember that too.
So they're getting
guy.
Yeah, and they're getting a lot of guys back, but I still don't know if that's enough. I think their defense is much better than the Leafs. Like I think that's not even a question.
That's a given.
Yeah, but I think Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. I think Tavares has kind of been injured all year. I think he came back early from the hand injury. He also had a
kid, so he's
he had a kid, so it kind of looks even when he came back, like he looked like he was not scoring like he was. I think something was wrong with his hand.
Don't forget Riley too. Riley's
back.
Got hurt.
Yeah, and they'll get Mikheyev back.
Yes,
Superman, which is very exciting.
What are they going to do with two Supermans? Because you got Campbell. Or who's gonna ditch the soup?
Well, Campbell seems like a nice guy.
Campbell will ditch the soup. Yeah, he's too nice.
Yeah,
missed the second best mustache on the team.
But I think playoffs is a different game, and I think we really saw it last year against Boston. For me, I think the game that really was a moment for me was game 2 where nothing was called. Absolutely. I remember
pandemonium.
It was awful. I remember John Tavares got punched in the face.
Jake DeBrusk's hit on Marlowe.
Yeah. And yeah.
No one polices the game.
And then Kadri.
I remember I was out to dinner with my family. It was my stepdad's 50th birthday. I come out of dinner and the texts I get from Alex, I can't even repeat them on this podcast.
I don't even remember. I was so upset. Like I was watching, like my parents aren't big hockey fans, but they were watching the game, and the words that were coming out of my mouth, I don't think they've ever heard before. Because Chara punches Tavares in the face while the play's dead. And I'm like, what is this? Like, is this like I didn't know what sport I'm watching anymore. I went on a rant. No one understood what I was talking about, but that's okay. So that, I think, will be an issue, especially, even more if Josh Anderson's back. But even without Josh Anderson, you look at someone like Seth Jones, someone like Nick Foligno, who's willing to get down and dirty. Maybe not the same way Josh Anderson is, but I think John Tortorella has set that system in place where, hey, we don't have Panarin anymore. We don't have Matt Duchene. We don't have those big scorers, but we can still get the puck. We can still score goals but we have to really work for it. So I think Toronto beats that out. I think, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, those three alone, Matthews, the pace for his goals this year was deadly. And I just think those guys beat it out.
I think another thing, too, that we got to realize is that Columbus, for the last almost 2 years now, has been playing with some form of chip on their shoulder. Yes. Like last year with their deadline push, no one counted them to win to beat Tampa.
Right.
And now they went off and pulled one of the funniest.
Who's that?
Dogs, Kilo.
Aw.
Hold on.
Oh, what a cutie.
Kilo, come here. Come here. Let me. Oh my God, come see it.
Oh, he's such a little pumpkin.
What do you mean a little pumpkin? He's 90 pounds, man.
Oh my God.
My buddy Cameron, he had a German Shepherd, and he just called him a pumpkin. So he's adorable.
Yeah, he's a Leafs fan.
Is he?
Anyways, like I was saying, you know, they've been playing with such a chip on their shoulder ever since that, you know, they pulled, like, I was laughing my ass off when they beat Tampa. Like, that was so funny. But then as well, like this year, the mass exodus.
Right.
They've been playing with two things here. They've been playing with a mass exodus of their best players just being like to yeet. And then on top of that, the injuries, the man games that they've lost this year. They've been playing with such a chip on their shoulder that I think now that they're being rewarded with everything back, that's what worries me a lot as a Leafs fan.
Yeah.
Well, what about this? Sorry to interrupt you there, Alex. Because, like, if there's any criticism about the Leafs, it's that they probably need to tighten up their defensive game. And yes, Columbus, as that bang and crash, you know, it's not easy for them to get the easy goal, but there's going to be more chances. How much of a factor is the Leafs' defensive performance?
I don't know if it's their defensive performance. I think is Freddie gonna play like Freddie? Because
Freddie
I
had
think
a tough soak last year.
Yeah, and I think we know what the Leafs' defense is. We know Riley sure can play defense. He's not a defense like. He's at like I don't know how to describe him because you know he can play defense, but that's not his strong point. Mm-hmm. And same goes with Tyson Barrie, and I think even more. He's more offensive minded than Riley. Jake Muzzin is their real, I think, defensive guy.
Defenseman, honestly.
Yeah, Justin Hall is. I don't know. He's been a ghost since he signed that contract.
Dermott's a spark plug.
Dermott, yeah, you know he did. You know he stepped up his game when both Muzzin and Riley were out. But I'd like to see him perform like that with both of them in the lineup. Yeah. And then we have the best, my favorite Leafs defenseman, Cody Ceci.
I don't know if you guys, I forgot what game it was, but like, I remember he just entered the offensive zone, and they passed the puck down to him, and the guy straight up takes it and passes it to the other side where there's not a single defenseman. Like he literally passes to the other one.
That's probably every game.
Like when I saw that, I'm like, this is Cody Ceci in a nutshell.
I can't believe I can't believe they defended that guy. I can't believe Kyle Dubas came out and defended that guy.
I think you kind of have to.
No, just don't say anything about him. That's it. I don't want to hear about Cody Ceci.
What about Martin Marincin?
Great guy.
Marty.
Magic.
Analytics darling.
Marty.
He scored the best goal of the season.
Daniel, you put that perfectly. Analytics darling. And you're right. That goal. I was dying when he scored that goal.
It was amazing. It was spectacular.
Like I can't. I really. It's gonna be a tough matchup because, like, I mean, yeah, you have two top-heavy lines of offense that can really drive, but I mean, another storyline is like, where do you put Kerfoot? Kerfoot has had trouble this year, whether it's as a third-line center or as a second-line winger. It's been tough for him to click.
Yeah, I think you put him third-line center.
I think so too.
Where he was brought into play. And I really think, you know, he only played a short time there, but Mikheyev on either Matthews or Tavares wing, I think he'd look really well. And either whether you have Matthews with Marner or Tavares with Marner, it doesn't really matter. I think you're still the other person's consolation prize is William Nylander. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it matters either way. Kerfoot, he's your third-line center. And you're going to have Engvall, Kerfoot, and Kapanen as your third line. I don't think you play – yeah, I don't think you play Jason Spezza as your third-line center. Like, I love Jason Spezza, but he was brought in for the fourth line. That's what he was brought in for. So
you got to keep him
there.
But you know what? You can't forget this. If we're playing, I mean, obviously the Leafs aren't a physical team, and Columbus has like their physicality. It's tough to say though, but like literally the only physical really guy that's going to dig deep in there is Clifford. Clifford and Muzzin are the only guys that I really think I'm going to see much checking from. Like you got Dermott, Kapanen that are going to lay their hits here and there, but like that the real ones that are like the actual intimidation in terms of their physicality, that they have a reputation for it, that aren't just, the forwards that are going to throw a quick check into the boards here and there. It's Clifford and Muzz.
Right. I mean, I saw as soon as Clifford came in, you kind of saw this different attitude from a lot of the team. It felt like they were willing to take a little more of a risk because they knew Clifford was there. But the guy I saw the most change from, maybe it was because of injuries, whatever it was, he maybe had more of an opportunity, but was Kapanen. Mm-hmm. As soon as Clifford came in, I saw that guy play completely different. The guy we all thought he was came out as soon as Clifford came in. Mm-hmm. Maybe because he was more comfortable having Clifford as that guy saying, if I can't beat that guy up, he'll beat him up for me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the reason, but
I think it came out as soon as he got on the ice, and then Clifford goes out there without a bucket, and he's like, okay, we know what to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's going to be a battle for sure between Columbus's defense. It's literally it's an equation. Leafs offense versus Columbus's defense. Freddie Anderson versus Merzlikins and Korpisalo, and Keefe with Tortorella. It's just matchup on matchup on matchup, really, to sum it up. And obviously you're leaning one way, but honestly, man, I really think this can go either way. As much as I want the Leafs to win, it's not lopsided like some people think. Like the Leafs are going to come in here and score a bunch of goals. Do you know how tough it is for the Leafs to like? You tell the Leafs to score goals, and they'll do the complete opposite sometimes. Like, hey, they're putting in a emergency backup goalie. Shoot as much as possible. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna do the complete opposite.
You talked about some goaltending there. I wanted to ask, is there any chance that Jack Campbell sees the net?
No. Zero.
Unless Freddie's getting torched one game. Mm-hmm. Unless he's getting completely and utterly lit up one game. Like if it's like 5-1, throw soup in there.
Yeah. But I just can't see them doing that. Like I can't see them starting Jack Campbell in a game. No.
And you know what? You know what? I'm happy because he's the most reliable backup that we've had in a very long time.
Yeah, since Chris McElhinney.
I honestly was so upset when they didn't keep him over Sparks. But that's another story. But
I met Sparks at the charity event. I'm just standing next to this guy. I took a picture. I'm like, God damn you, losing games because of you. Stop the puck, man, please. I want to like you. I want to like Garrett Sparks. Automatically, I love every Leafs player. But when you do stuff like that, I can't.
Like Cody Ceci.
Oh, I told Adam, I'm like, I bet he's a great human being. I bet he's the nicest guy I've ever met.
I would get a beer with him for sure.
Yeah, probably, but not when you do that. I can't.
I can't tell you how many episodes of the podcast have started out with Alex saying, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Get him off the bench.
That's most of my explanation, though. But he's a nice guy. Just
fun. Anything else the three of you would like to touch on when it comes to this series?
No, not for me.
Nope.
Frederik Andersen brings back his Anaheim Ducks playoff form.
Sorry, I just remembered Frederick Gauthier. That's the game changer.
The X Factor.
X Factor.
I thought it was going to be Nick Robertson.
I'd love to see him play. I'd love to see him play in one of the exhibition games because I think they're playing two exhibition games.
The Athletic predicted when they made a lineup, a Leafs projected lineup, they had him a third line winger. I was like, what?
No.
Let me ask you guys that, because I completely forgot about Nick Robertson. Where do you guys think is a realistic place for him to play on the lineup?
The press box.
Yeah, unless things are changing, really like the press box, because like you can't throw him in the third or fourth lines because he's not big and strong enough to be in that kind of competition with the other team's third or fourth lines, and he's not good enough yet, of course, to be in the top two lines. So realistically, especially in this kind of hockey, it's best to keep him learning in the press box and practice.
How about Rasmus Sandin? That's a big name.
Yeah.
I was big on him playing over Cody Ceci, but if it was a matter of him playing 10 minutes a night with the Leafs or like 30 minutes a night with the Marlies, I'd rather him play 30 minutes a night with the Marlies.
Yeah.
But if we have the option of using him, do you play him over Cody Ceci?
Yep. I am. I'm playing
I'd rather
him over.
I'd rather play Martin Marincin over Cody Ceci.
Damn.
Okay.
Now I can really see how you regard Cody Ceci.
Listen, I bet he's a splendid human being. Just not a good hockey player.
Would love to get a beer with him. Do not want to watch him.
Exactly.
No. I think we're good. We've wrapped up.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so.
I remember when I first asked Mike to come on the show, I'm like, hey, so can we take like 30 minutes or like how long?
2 hours.
Mike just gives me the honest, like, as long as you need me, fella. And I'm like, all right, maybe we'll give like hour 20, hour 30. We started recording at about 12:30. It's 2:55. So first and foremost, before we go a little outro here, thank you, Mike, for coming on and being very, very gracious with your time.
No worries.
I think it was a red flag when your dog came in and started. I'm sure he's saying, "Hey, buddy, I need a walk or something."
Oh no, he just woke up. That's it. He was sleeping lasted a while. Yeah, no red flags. He's just chilling.
All right. Well, the good boy.
Probably went back to sleep. Honestly.
Hey, big dogs, they're the sweetest. I have a Rottweiler, nicest dog you ever met.
Oh, we have some Rotties that live. We have 2 Rotties that live next to us at our cottage. So my boy over here is always playing with those 2 Rotties whenever we go up to Wasaga for a couple days.
Yeah, love to see it. All right, yeah. So thank you, Mike. You've been such a great guest for him. So much great insight here.
Hey, thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah, I think this is easy. I don't know about you. I think I say this after every episode, but this is legitimately probably one of my most enjoyable episodes I think we've had. Eh, guys?
Probably.
Yes.
We had some good laughs in that, so really good. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, though, first of all, go check out the YouTube channel because I think we had some good visual guy. Go check out Mike's adorable dog. All that kind of great stuff. And we got to get the YouTube channel going, obviously. Be sure to check out the show's Instagram channels as well as all our social medias. My YouTube channel, of course. Go check out that house content. And be sure, we're going to link all of Mike's stuff. Go look at his David Ayres stuff, Steve Dangle interview, all that, lovely.
Appreciate that,
stuff.
guys.
Steve.
Mike's
podcast as well, all that lovely stuff. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, any of that stuff, leave a rating, review, anything. You tell me your playoff predictions. We want to know. Also, for the listeners, this Wednesday, we have from The Athletic, Harman Dayal coming on. We're going to talk about the Canucks. Maybe you have a question you want answered. We'll ask him. Just let us know. But that's going to be everything from us. Say goodbye, lads. If you have anything else to say, go ahead and say it.
You didn't put your prediction. You didn't put your prediction.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna say Columbus. He's gonna say Columbus just to piss me off.
He's gonna say Columbus.
I know. I already know.
I'm going to go with a solid 5-game series. Well, now that you've said it, I have to go Columbus. No, we said when we did a very, very quick dive, I said Toronto would probably win. But yeah, like Columbus are just they're not fun to play against. But I mean, there is no excuse for me at the end of the day if Freddie pulls up and with the offensive talent, the gap in talent and pure scoring that the Leafs they should win. But I'll go with Columbus just for the upset. Why not?
Okay, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We were waiting for that.
All right. Hey, you know what? I aim to please. Anything else, guys?
No.
All right. We'll see you later, everyone. Goodbye.